Hold up, I am on my way. I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing.
Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie. Today I have 20 beach Dollar Tree DIYs. I know a lot of you guys like using coastal for summer decor, or if you're like me, you like it year round. For this one, I wanted to make a really beautiful sea turtle art piece. And so what I'm gonna do is use one of these little wood signs from the Dollar Tree. I'm gonna switch out the beads on mine. They have wood beads on this little wood circle sign. And you guys were asking me to source some beach stuff from other locations. So I've been looking, it's been hard, but I did find a few things on Temu. I will try to post links to whatever I found. But for this one, I'm going to switch out these little wood beads on here with some sea turtle wood beads. I thought would be really cute since we're going to be making a sea turtle piece. This is what they look like. They're white with little blue sea turtles all over. Very cute. I did find some stuff from Temu. I found some stuff from Amazon. And there's also another website that I found for like wood cutouts that I'll try to post the links to everything in the description of today's video. The sea turtles do go a certain direction. So I had 3 go one way, 3 go another way. And then I just reattached the existing hanger to the sign itself. I thought that was really cute, especially because we're going to have some blue on this DIY. I wanted to try to make a sea turtle out of seashells and some of that crushed glass from the Dollar Tree. So I am just going to stencil it out. I made the stencil of a sea turtle silhouette. I will include a link to the free printable in the description of today's video if you'd like to recreate. I tried not to waste as much ink as I could by making it just an outline like this. And I'm just going to cut the sea turtle out just to use it as a template for how I want it to be shaped. There's a couple ways you could do this. You could just cut it out like this and sketch it out. You could actually cut it out like a stencil and kind of work in between it. I don't know which way would really be easier. For this one, I decided to go ahead and cut the flippers, the head, and everything off here because I thought that because I'm going to do the sections differently, like I'm going to do the seashells for the turtle shell. But then I was like, oh, it might not fit properly on here, so I still need to have it kind of lined up. I probably could have left it attached because what I'm going to do is just sketch this on here just to give me an outline. And I used a pencil on this. You might want to use chalk or something like that because I did have a little bit of issues with erasing the pencil and making it not noticeable. But the first thing I did was just sketch out the turtle shell. These are the seashells I'm going to use. I'm going to use a combination of these seashells I found on Amazon. You get this giant jar of them. And then some of the tiny shells from Dollar Tree, the little jar shells. Haven't been able to find those at Dollar Tree lately. So I've been getting these large jars on Amazon, and it's really just as cheap because you get a lot of them. And I have that linked in my Amazon shop under beach essentials maybe. And we are going to glue this on for the shell. I'm using tacky glue from Dollar Tree. It works great for making shell encrusted projects like this. It's super strong and it dries clear. And I just painted that on exactly where I drew out my outline for the turtle shell. And I don't really care what color it is or what style of shell it is. I just want it to be small. So there's a few larger ones in the jar. So I was just trying to pick them out just because they were a little bit bigger than I would like, but I just want the entire shell to be shell encrusted. That makes sense, right? And then I want to do the rest of the turtle with the crushed glass from the Dollar Tree. And your girl has sleeves on. It is not because I am cold here in Florida. I am covered from head to toe with poison ivy. I was mulching my yard to try to avoid fire ants because we keep getting fire ants next to our house. So I decided to mulch the entire perimeter of the house. And somehow the mulching gave me poison ivy. Like, I don't even think there was any poison ivy there. I must have had something contaminated on the mulch itself. I don't know, but it has been almost a week and I am dying. So if you have any fantastic remedies, I think I've probably tried everything for poison ivy. Please let me know in the comments below because your girl is suffering. But I got this encrusted. I started the drying process a little bit just to kind of see what was attached and what wasn't. A couple of them might have been double stacked. I used a little spray adhesive from the Dollar Tree too. It's not super necessary, but I thought it might help this along with sticking together. And then I decided to go in and try to erase the pencil. The problems that I had was it was really kind of hard to get in there without messing the shells up right at this point, right? And I was really having trouble getting in there at all. So, what I decided to do was just go around the perimeter with a little bit more of that tacky glue and add tiny shells around the perimeter to kind of cover up the pencil marks because I didn't want them to be seen. And I really thought that the glue over the pencil was really going to kind of seal that on there. And I didn't want that part to be visible. I thought I was going to be able to erase that a little bit better than I could, but I was able to fix it by using this method. And I also have exciting news. I have my son home from college. I went and moved him home yesterday. I got to help him clean his apartment that he was sharing with another guy and move him home. I'm so glad to have him home for the summer. He does have a lot of summer school this year for college, but he is doing fantastic. Now for the head and all of the sea turtle flippers, and there was even a little tail that I had sketched out earlier. It was part of the shell, I think. I just sketched these out with pencil as well, and I'm going to cover these with crushed glass. Now Dollar Tree does have these in a few different colors. I know that they have green, blue, and kind of a pinkish color. I think green or blue would work well for this. And I want to cover all of these parts with the crushed glass. I thought this would be a fun idea because it, looks like sea glass, but like a lot smaller. So it would work better for something more the scale of a project. So again, I just use the tacky glue. It works great for shells. So I thought it would work great for crushed glass too. And I just painted that on there and spread out my blue crushed glass. I absolutely love how this turned out. Anytime I can work with like sea glass, shells, different materials like that to make something, some of my favorite DIYs, just really cool. I do make sure to put down a nice healthy coat of tacky glue. I might have put too much on that first flipper though, so I'm just going to spread that out a little bit there. I want it to dry quickly and clear, but I do want it to be secure. I just don't want to waste any glue if I don't need to. And even though it goes on white, you're thinking it's going to dry white. It really doesn't. It dries crystal clear. It might give you a glossy finish. So I try to cover as much of it as I can with the stones or the shells when I'm working with them. And I just work my way around here. He has 4 flippers and a little tiny tail. I love sea turtles. They're one of my favorite creatures. They nest on the beaches here where I live by the thousands. And so it's always such a fun treat. I've got to go see them lay eggs with some sea turtle groups a couple of times now on the beach in the middle of the night. And it's so fun. I've even seen a leatherback hatchling hatch out of its nest one night at the beach and head to the ocean. So that was really cool as well. They're just such beautiful creatures. Very cool. We even got to swim with one. And where was that? That was in the Virgin Islands. You got into a pool with the sea turtle, and it was a really cool experience. I always love seeing them in the wild as well. This is how my sea glass and seashell sea turtle turned out. I think it's really beautiful. And I'm going to try to focus today trying to not use shore living items since they have been discontinued at Dollar Tree. Unfortunately, I still have a lot of them in my stash, but I know they are like almost impossible to find. So we're going to try our best to do some coastal crafting without. If you're enjoying today's video, be sure to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I'd really appreciate it if you would hype today's video. I picked up quite a few of these little craft woods at the Dollar Tree because I want to make a shell box. I'm using one of these little signs I found at Target Dollar Spot, but you know what? They have these at the Dollar Tree now too, very similar, so you could totally do it with a $1.25 one instead. This one was $3. It was the exact size I wanted, and so I'm going to use that craft wood to make sides for my little shell box. So I cut it the exact length of my little picture in the back to make a side for the shell box. I want to make a shell box where I can put my shells in after I get back from the beach. And this is something I use all the time. It's so fun and so coastal and beachy. So I cut down another piece for that side. Now this end, I'm going to have to cut from the inside of one piece to the inside of the next piece. So it will fit in there. I'm not doing any miter corners or anything like that. These are all very easy cuts. So we can just square in another side. And I have enough left of that piece to do the other side as well. So I think 3 pieces of craft wood to do the sides. That looks like it's going to work like that. Now I do want an area open on the top of the box so that I can deposit the shells inside. So I'm just using my ruler to cut out an opening. I'm going to cut down 2 little pieces of the wood, even smaller, for the top of my little shell box. Now, I went and bought a miter saw because I love crafting, but I hate cutting. I know some of you guys don't cut, but it's really not that complicated with this thin craft wood from the Dollar Tree. You can always get one of those little miter boxes and saws. I think Harbor Freight has them for like $12. It really doesn't take too much to cut this wood. And I am just hot gluing those all on to the frame. Boxing that in, trying to make my corners as square as I can. And then the top part, gluing the 2 sides on the top. And even though I do have a miter saw, I usually don't miter my corners. It's so much easier not to do that. And then I'm going to continue building the box out with that craft wood on the top. This time I'm going end to end for the top and the bottom pieces like that to box it in. So I'm cutting these longer than the top and the bottom pieces to overlap the sides. And this time I will go in and just cut out 2 more pieces, the size of the sides that will fit in there. It's going to make the box a little bit stronger. The fact that I built them kind of opposite of each other. So I have all 4 panels like that we can put together. These I'm going to decorate, make them the front of our shell box. I think they're going to be really cute. Just sanding that up. That is how the front of the box is going to look. And so I thought I would just go ahead and construct the front frame separately and using my staple gun to staple the wood together here on the seams, which is a very common construction technique when you're building stuff like that. If I could get my staples all in the right spot, that would be great. Trying to keep my head out of the shot. Now to cover the front of the box, I'm going to use some of this chicken wire from the Dollar Tree. And if you can't find chicken wire, you could always use like any kind of a net material to give you like a fishnet thing or something like that. But I like this. I think this looks great on the front of this, and it serves a purpose. It keeps all of my shells in the box, but you can see through it, so you can see all the pretty shells that I put inside. So I'm just cutting that down to size to go over the little window in the front of my box. And again, just using my staple gun, I'm going to staple that chicken wire down. I wish they did a better job of keeping this chicken wire in stock at the Dollar Tree because I find it's few and far between. But if you want chicken wire, you might be able to get it somewhere else. And there is the front of our little shell box. I think that's going to work. We're going to go ahead and just put hot glue all along the edges of the side panels and glue that onto the front. Very rustic, little chicken wire shell box. And I'm just trying to check to make sure everything is square And the chicken wire is going to hold. I think it looks great. I do want to kind of fill in some of the holes from my rustic corners though, or if there are any gaps anywhere that I see along the box. So I'm just using some spackle and my finger just to kind of fill in any openings because I'm sure it's not completely square all over. I never claimed to be a carpenter. So I'm just going to fill those in before we paint and decorate the shell box. And it actually is pretty sturdy, believe it or not. Now, the color I want to do is, I'm going to do like a turquoise mixed with white to give me a light turquoise color for my box. So just mixing white in until I get like the perfect color that I'm looking for. And we're just going to paint the box. What I want to do, I made those panels on the top and the bottom of the box a little bit longer because I plan to put words there. I'm going to use my Cricut, kind of take you through the design process of how I made the words. And I will include the Cricut file if you would like to recreate this yourself in the description down below. But I just paint the sides, any of the front parts that's going to be visible. We're going to make it this beautiful color of light turquoise. And you can tell that we use like a high quality wood because you can see that wood grain kind of through it. Adds to the coastal rustic appeal. Just trying not to get any on the chicken wire. Now, this is my Cricut design space. What I always start out with is a square. Change the dimensions on that by unlocking it, making it exactly the size of my top panel and my back panel. And I found a fun saying to put on here. I'm going to have it say, every seashell has a story. And so I kind of want it to be a big, boxy, bold stencil. So I'm trying to find something. I really kind of like just a basic like Arial black, just stretching it out, kind of making it longer. I'm going to copy and paste that onto our second one and put has a story. Changing that like that. Now all you have to do is go back and delete your boxes. But first, I kind of like changing the color to see exactly how it's going to look when I paint it on there. So I deleted my boxes. Now I'm going to kind of move them around because I am making a stencil. So I do want to, have a little bit of room for the stencil to be on the edges so I don't get any paint on my original project. So I just had to change my mat out to 12 by 12. This is my favorite stencil vinyl. I get this on Amazon. It's always included in the link down below. It's my favorite part of owning a Cricut is making stencils. And it's really not that hard. So I thought I would just take you through the process with me. We're just going to go in and weed this out. See how easy it is to weed when you do like a big, bold, basic column shape like that on your font. And then cut it down into the two pieces. I also get this on Amazon. This is my paper, Cricut transfer paper. I love it. It does a great job. It doesn't take any of the paint off. It works great. It's my favorite. It's not transparent like the clear Cricut brand, but I like it. I can see through it enough to usually get it lined up pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and put my stencil here on the top part of our shell box and peel off that paper. One custom little stencil there, and then we're going to put the other one on the bottom. I always like the white painted letters on the blue. I think it looks really coastal. So that is what we're going to do. So I got my stencil down. I'm going to use a little stencil dauber from the Dollar Tree and just some ivory acrylic and go all over our stencil. I'm always going for that coastal farmhouse vibe, so I don't really care too much if I have any bleeding, but it did a pretty good job. So we're just going to peel off our stencil vinyl now that it's starting to dry and weed out the middle part of the letters. Don't be afraid to use your Cricut. They're so fun for crafting. Now I thought a perfect decoration for the side would be seashells, right? So I'm just going to pick out some Dollar Tree seashells, kind of a variety of shapes and sizes to decorate the sides of our little shell box. I think it's so pretty. I love this DIY. I have it on top of my coat rack when I first come in my door. So if I've been to the beach, there is a guaranteed chance that I'm going to have a shell in my pocket. So this is a good place that I can just dump them so they don't end up in the laundry. I'm just going to secure the little seashells to the side, and they are the perfect final touch to this DIY. There it is, our little shell box, ready for seashells. This one was really fun to build, and it's great because it is some functional decor. I can empty my pockets when I get home from the beach and fill up this little shell box. I really love how this turned out. If you can't find the chicken wire, sometimes you can use like some grill netting too they have for summer at Dollar Tree for the face of it. But really fun, and I love that saying, every seashell has a story. For the next DIY, I'm using a glass bottle from the Dollar Tree and these ocean napkins that I got on Temu. I will try to post a link to these as well. It's a very abstract scene of an ocean on a 2-ply napkin. I am going to cut it in half and attempt to Mod Podge this on. I use a little bit of painter's tape to separate my layers. This was a very cheap napkin, so I did have a little bit of difficulty with the Mod Podge process. I'm just using a Dollar Tree bottle, and I found a great floral from the Dollar Tree that I think looks really coastal. I just cut my napkin in half, and I'm trying to see like how much I need to cover the whole thing. I probably will overlap it a little bit. Now, I had to do this project a couple of times because Mod Podge and glass and thin napkins don't always work together. But the good news is if you mess up, you can always wash it off and start over again. I did a very thin coat of Mod Podge all over the bottle. And I was going to try to do the iron method with my little Cricut Easy Press iron, this one, but it malfunctioned and it's no good any longer. So I'm very disappointed in Cricut. That was way too expensive to have lasted such a short amount of time. Maybe I should contact them and see if they'll give me a new one. I read online that it is a very common problem. It just beeps instead of turning on. I wadded up some saran wrap. This is the floral that I'm going to use from the Dollar Tree. I found these the other day with lots of different pampas. This one's not labeled exactly what it is. Does anybody know what this is called? I thought it looked coastal. I love the colors. It had a couple branches in there, and I thought this would be perfect for this bottle. I let the Mod Podge stick on this one. This was my successful attempt for a minute or so until it became tacky but not dry. And then I applied the napkin very carefully, just putting it on with the plastic wrap that I had bunched up. And the only place I really got any wrinkling was the back here where I overlapped it, but that's going to be the back of the bottle, so I think I can live with that. Added more Mod Podge there for the seam, and I just tried to touch it all over very carefully. I tried not to sit it down. The problems I was having with this DIY was the napkin tearing, so I was really trying to make sure that it didn't tear this time. And I'm not going to Mod Podge over the top of it because I was having such difficulty with it. I'm just going to leave it as is. I don't want to mess it up. For the top part, I'm going to cover that with twine. I just start here at the top of the Dollar Tree bottle and attach the twine, and I'm going to overlap the napkin a little bit to fill in this section. This is going to give a fun coastal touch. The twine I'm using is from Walmart there, but you could always use the twine from the Dollar Tree. This one's just a little bit thicker. And I thought that these glass bottles were the Shore Living line at Dollar Tree, but one of my stores just got them in, and they don't have Shore Living this year, so that doesn't make sense. So I think that they're just a home decor product, but they're really nice size vase. And I just cover this entire section with that twine, again, overlapping it just a little bit. That Walmart twine is a little rough. I did try to carefully burn this off, being very careful I didn't try to catch my napkin on fire there. But it made a really subtle vase. I love this napkin pattern. I think it's really pretty. And a fun way to just take a Dollar Tree bottle like that and make it an extra special vase. Isn't this so pretty? I love the gold metallic for the waves too. Very subtle but pretty. And I don't really think I have to add anything to this except for just adding this like dried out greenery. Again, I don't know what this is called, but I think it's really pretty to the vase. And this is how it turned out. I think it is very coastal and pretty. And decoupaging with that napkin from Temu was great. If you look around, you can find beach napkins at various stores, but really liked this design. And, it was probably cheaper on Temu. But you can use any glass bottle or vase that you can find from Dollar Tree. One that will fit with the napkin. I wanted to make a driftwood lighthouse. So what I'm going to start with is just a Dollar Tree wood ruler. Just go ahead and remove the stickers on there. And I'm going to be using these wood slices. I think they look a lot like driftwood. You could always use real driftwood if you have it. But I wanted to show you some items that you could get at the Dollar Tree and that you could use for this. So I have quite a collection. Whenever I see these, I always grab them. They're my favorite of any of the wood slice. And what I'm going to do is just start trying to find the longer ones. I'm looking for flat ones and then the shorter ones. And what I want is I want a gradual transition from long to short as you go up like you would have in a lighthouse. And then I also have a couple pieces of driftwood there that I did find at the beach that I'm going to be using for this DIY as well. So I was looking for flat pieces because some of them have a little bit of a curve and kind of all about the same diameter. I got to that point and I realized I just have short and I just have long. Right now I need like a gradual transition. So to do that, I'm just going to cut these. And for that, I use my miter scissors. I got those miter scissors on Amazon. I do have those linked in my Amazon shop below. They work great on cutting these. I think my blade might be getting a little dull on these again, though. I might need to change them. But not too bad if I cut them and then just give them a quick sand, just to kind of clear up any edges. I kind of like the rugged look. It looks like driftwood, but you don't want it like too falling apart there after being cut. And I'm just going to keep building that up. I want almost the entire ruler to be covered with these little wood pieces. I call them driftwood slices. I guess they're just wood slices. And just a gradual transition. I'm not really measuring before I cut because I know I can kind of fit it somewhere here. And I'm just measuring by size to try to get that gradual transition where it's a little bit skinnier at the top. It's just going to give it that classic lighthouse feel. And as you can see, the wood is pretty uniform. I mean, it's slightly different in color. I'm going to show you how I actually give it a little bit more variation because I think it just really adds a lot of character to this Driftwood Lighthouse project. So I think that is plenty of them. And even though I like the color on them, I want to stain some of them. So to do that, I just mixed a little bit of gray acrylic and some, I think it's burnt umber, like a brown acrylic. And I just want like that driftwood, gray, weathered look for some of them. And we're just going to do a really quick stain with this. So I take just some and go over the wood stem. And then while it's still wet, I just kind of go over it with a baby wipe. And that way you can still see that wood grain go through. It's just going to give a light gray stain and it's going to dry really quickly too. So, way easier than staining when you just use paint like this. But I'm going to skip a couple, then stain it. As you can see, there's already a little bit of a variation. And I'm going to kind of mix it up. Like, I don't want it to be like that one. I only skipped one just to make it a little bit more random with the different colors. And I think this is going to make it match well with the driftwood that I actually found from the beach there. There's just a really weathered piece of driftwood that I thought might work for the top. And there's actually a piece that's actually like a piece of a palm tree that's a driftwood that I thought would be great for the bottom of this one, which is this one right here. I love it. I think it's a perfect bottom here for the lighthouse. The only problem is it's a little bit too thick. I think it's going to stick out a little bit too far. So what I'm going to do is take it to my saw. And as you can see, I just cut it down a little bit. The only problem with that is now it's got this straight clean cut and I don't want that. I want it to look like driftwood, right? So to do that, I just take my pliers and I just kind of like chew it up a little bit there at the end. Give it like a faux weathering there. And the color inside is still kind of brownish, so I went ahead and used that same gray brown color that we mixed up to kind of stain the end to make it blend in with the driftwood vibe of that. And then I'm just going to give it a quick sanding. That'll give it a little bit of weathering as well. And I think this is a perfect base for the lighthouse like that. And then I can attach all of those wood slices to the ruler. And then I wanted to use this piece of driftwood. It's a very weathered piece of driftwood, but it kind of has a triangular shape, which is what I was going for the top of the lighthouse. It's just way too thick. So what I'm doing is actually just kind of chewing it apart, making it thinner. Since it's very weathered driftwood, it's pretty easy to do that, just to make the piece thinner. And then I cut it a little bit shorter, and then I also cut it to make it a little bit more triangular at the top. So I did 2 cuts on it, and it's still a little bit like too thick, so I do like kind of whittle it down a little bit. Also, all of those clean cuts on there, I want to chew those up a little bit. And just using like tools like a pliers like that is just the easiest way to do it. I think that is looking way better. And I thought that'd be a really cute top for the Driftwood Lighthouse. Like I said, it was still a little bit too thick, so I just chewed it down a little bit more here by just removing some of the pieces. I found that the pliers worked better than the saw because it really gave you that weathered look. I am almost happy with it. Maybe just a little bit more off of here. And to even it out a little bit. And I think that looks pretty good. Now it is still thicker than the wood slices. So I'm actually going to use a popsicle stick to kind of attach it to the back of the ruler. Just to kind of offset the width of it a little bit. I can't really chew it down any further. And so let me show you how I'm going to do that. I just use a jumbo popsicle stick. And I'm just going to cut it into a little piece like that can stick out from behind the ruler that I can then use to attach the driftwood to that. So I'm just going to use hot glue. And I have like the ridge where the stickers were. That's going to be the back of my project. And I glue it onto the back. Add some hot glue to the front and just glue my driftwood piece. It's very fragile. I think I pushed on it a little too hard and cracked it. But I'm committed, so I just glued it back together, and being broken, I think even adds more character to the driftwood look. And now it's just a matter of putting this together. I can do a couple at a time before my hot glue sets up, so I still have them lined up how I wanted them, from smallest to largest. And I can do like 2 or 3 here at a time with my hot glue, and I'm just trying to center that on the wood ruler and just gluing it straight to it. I use Gorilla Glue hot glue, which holds up really well for my wood projects like this, so I think that this should be no exception. And I'm going to do that all the way till I get to the bottom here. And I did cut the ruler slightly. I cut the circle off the end just because I thought it was going to be a little bit too long, and I'm really glad I did that because it would be harder to do that now. And then I just hot glued that bottom piece of driftwood to the base. And we have the structure of the lighthouse. I think it's looking really cute. What do you guys think? Now, even though it's rustic, I still wanted to give it like windows. And so I'm just going to use a paint pen. I chose like this beachy blue color of my Posca paint pen. And I'm just going to draw a little rectangle on there and just kind of color it in. It's going to be over multiple wood slices. So it's going to be like on 2 or 3. But I'm just trying to space that out, and let's do a 3rd window right up here. I'm just doing rectangular windows just because I thought it would be easier. And then I just want a simple hanger for the back. I actually picked up these little hangers on Amazon. A lot of times I have some left over from the Dollar Tree things that I take apart. But I just wanted a quick little hanger here for the back, and I wanted it to be really sturdy. So I'm actually going to screw that in. I can screw it through the popsicle stick and the driftwood. But first I just need to drill a hole in it, and that is what I did. And I'm just going to screw this in. I found that the popsicle stick did want to split, even though I pre-drilled it, but it's probably just because it's a popsicle stick, but I think it's going to be plenty sturdy. I used a little extra hot glue just to make sure on top of my screw to secure it. And then for like, I think it's called the gallery up here. I'm just gonna give a very abstract one with a white paint pen and just kind of draw that on and kind of draw some lines down just to give a little bit of separation in that area. And then I thought it'd be really cute to decorate the base of it. So I'm just using some seashells here from the Dollar Tree. I get these little starfish from Amazon. I love those. Those are in my shop. And then I have a couple little beach finds from when I went to Sanibel Island a few weeks ago. And then I like to do odd numbers. So I think 5 is going to look really good on this. And I just attached them all with a little bit of hot glue. Now, it's not a super large project, but I think it turned out so cute. Great if you have a smaller area that you want to hang this. Now, if you can't find the little wood pieces, the wood slices, those are very hit or miss at Dollar Tree. You could use wood dowels, you could use sticks from your yard. You just want to cut them down in varying lengths, making it a little bit wider at the bottom. And I love this combined with the real driftwood and seashells. I thought this ribbon from the Dollar Tree, that's that burlap ribbon they have all the time, would make great tentacles for a jellyfish. I also have some macrame string that I got at the Dollar Tree, but any white string will do, and some of the white burlap from the Crafters Square section. I also got a long skinny sign, so I thought we could like turn this vertically and it'd make a great background for a jellyfish. Jellyfish are beautiful. They sting, but they're beautiful. So since I'm going to be using it the other way, I just went ahead and took the hanger off because it's not going to work. And then I'm just going to cut out a little square of this white burlap, which I'm so glad they got this in because I love crafting with it. I do have white burlap available in my Amazon shop below if you're not lucky enough to find any at Dollar Tree. Because that's how I've always bought it in the past. They do sell like 6-inch rolls, I think is what I normally got by there. And then I'm just going to use a Sharpie, and I'm not using a stencil or anything, but I'm just going to draw out the top of a jellyfish. It's super easy. It's like half a circle, like little wavy lines at the bottom like that. It looks like a jellyfish. And I think that's going to fit on our sign. So I'm just going to cut the inside of the Sharpie, so I cut all of that color off. And this was kind of an easy thing to cut out, but if it was more complex, a lot of you guys have suggested that if you Mod Podge this first and let it dry, cuts really well with no fraying, so there is that. But I had pretty good luck on this one. So I kind of want to tilt it to the side, kind of giving it that jellyfish vibe, like it's like undulating through the ocean. And I'm just going to leave the background. I love these wood signs from the Dollar Tree. I think they're so pretty. And I put a layer of Mod Podge down first, and then I put the burlap, and then I do Mod Podge over because you can't really Mod Podge it too much. I want it to stay down. And I didn't really have too much fraying there, but I did clean up what I had. And I did use maybe a little bit too much Mod Podge, so I'm just going to clean that up a little bit here with a baby wipe, and then we can start making tentacles. This one was so easy. This just totally reminds me of like those larger tentacles that come out from jellyfish, you know what I mean? So I thought we probably only have room for like 2 of them on here because this sign is pretty skinny. So I'm just going to start here at the top and attach it there. Now I'm not going to glue it all down. I'm only going to glue it down here and there. That way it looks like it's like twisting and turning. Some of it's lifted up off the sign. You know, it's switching directions like a little jellyfish tentacle would be. And I think that looks pretty cool. So there's definitely room to do at least 1 more of those. I initially wanted to do 3, but I didn't think I was going to be able to make it work. So again, I'm going to start at the top. And then I'm just going to kind of do like a random pattern down like I did before, just doing a dot of hot glue whenever I want it to like switch directions or kind of like raise things up. And I think that looks pretty good. Now for the rest of the tentacles, I'm using some of that macrame rope from the Dollar Tree. This is awesome, but you could also use like any kind of cotton twine. They usually have that in the hardware section if you can't find this. It's going to be pretty similar. And I'm going to do the same thing for this. I'm only going to like attach it in certain spots so that it'll give it that curly shape like a little jellyfish tentacle would have, and kind of fill in the left side of the sign with this. Now I probably should have used maybe my more fine tip hot glue gun with this, because this hot glue gun does like spill out like a lot of hot glue, and I did have to go in and try to clean that up a little bit at the end, but this one's going to kind of overlap. It's nice and thin, so I think it's okay if it overlaps some of the other tentacles. And again, just a curvy fashion. And then I think I have room for one more right here in the middle. And again, I want to just make it curve. It's so easy to do by only gluing down some parts of it. And I like the tips to be a little bit curved as well. I think that looks cool. And then I'm going to have to go in and clean up a little hot glue, because again, my little dots of hot glue were maybe not so much dots, but I always do that with my heat gun, and my Cricut weeder works really well for that too. Now it just needs a hanger, so I'm just going to take some twine and tie a knot. I have that frame to work with, so I can just staple it from the back, and it's thick enough to accommodate that. Make a knot on the other side, and now we have a new hanger. I thought this was really fun. I actually have this hanging in my bathroom, really cute in there with a coastal theme. And just because Dollar Tree doesn't want to give us shore living items, we can still be creative with what they have and try to make things ourselves. And sometimes they turn out even cuter when you make them from scratch. So I have a little burlap jellyfish. Really love this one. I hope you do too. Now for the next one, what you're going to need is just a charger from the Dollar Tree. And I am going to try to make this into a coastal mirror. I saw something at Kirkland's, really expensive. Let me post a picture of what I saw. Here it is. It's a painted nautical rope wood framed wall mirror, and I thought that that was really cute, and I knew I could make this with just a couple items from the Dollar Tree. Do you see the price on that? Crazy. So we're going to make maybe a smaller version. So I am going to use a Dollar Tree mirror. This is just one of their round mirrors. I just peel the paper off the back, and this was super easy to remove from the frame. It was only attached with like 3 dots of like glue. So I think that's going to be the perfect size to fit in the middle of the charger. It's already got like a great color. But I want to do like every third one a different color, like kind of like what they did on my inspiration piece. And so I'm just going to start painting. Now, there is a little groove in between the little flutes of the side of the plate, so it makes it really easy to paint, stay inside your line, and not have to tape anything. So I'm just going to go every third with this color. This is Caribbean blue acrylic paint. And I'm going to leave one that existing color of blue with the black distressing on there because I think that looks really pretty. And yes, I did go around and count every single one of these little sections of the plate to make sure it was divisible by 3. And yay, it was. So this was super easy to do. So I'm just skipping to painting every single one Caribbean blue. And then we're going to go in there and add another color. I really appreciate the fact that this was easy to paint without having to tape it for sure. And I think that color looks really nice with the blue that's already on there. So I give that a quick dry, and then I want to go in with like a driftwood color, and I don't really have any paint that color, so I'm going to kind of make it by mixing a little bit of ivory acrylic with some antique wax by Waverly. I love that finish it gives. I use it a lot. Just trying to mix it until I get it the way I like it. And then we're going to go in and paint every third this driftwood color too. So I just pick one. I'm going to do it right next to the blue one. And make sure you get your paint dry. You don't want them like bleeding into each other. And I'm just using a small brush from the Dollar Tree, and you have to go over it a couple times, but I don't really want great coverage. I think it's going to kind of add to the distressed element of the piece. And this was probably the easiest DIY we did today. This was really easy to put together, and it turned out so pretty. I just love it. So every third, we're making a driftwood color. And I do want to kind of go over the whole thing with a little ivory to distress it, just to give it more of that coastal farmhouse vibe. So I'm just using a chunky brush from the Dollar Tree and just kind of pulling it away from the edges to distress the outside edge. If you get a little too much on there, you can always blend it or wipe it a little bit with a baby wipe. I also go in and kind of pull from the inside too, just to kind of distress that inner edge as well. Now here is the mirror. I think it's going to fit in there really nicely with enough room to do a rope border like they had in theirs. So I'm just going to put down a lot of hot glue here to make sure this mirror stays in place. And there is my camera. So we're just going to make sure that is glued down well, and then we can add the rope to this project. I'm going to use some of the Dollar Tree brown rope. I decided on the thicker one. You could totally get away with the smaller one as well. I kind of went back and forth whether I wanted to do 1 or 2 rows like they did, and they ended up going ahead and doing 2 rows. So I'm just going to pick a place to start, and we can start gluing that around. Now, I do kind of want to burn the fuzzies off first, and so that's what I'm going to do. And I kind of end up burning the fuzzies off of all of this because it was a little rough. Once you get it in there, you're not going to be able to clean it up at all. So that's always an important step, especially on something like this mirror where I don't want a lot of fuzz happening to block the mirror. So I just do a bead of hot glue, and we're just going to start doing like one section at a time. I am gluing this up against the edge of the little charger plate. And if you do like a quarter at a time, you can kind of still work with your hot glue while it is nice and wet. And we're going to do that all the way around. Now, honestly, the one piece of rope really almost filled the entire seam in. There was a little bit of a gap. And the original piece did have 2 pieces of rope to go around the inside, so that is why I chose to do another row. So I'm just going to start at the bottom, the same place that I had the seam on the first one, just to kind of make it consistent. And we're going to glue that all around. You're getting some behind the scenes action with this mirror. You get to see my lights, you get to see my camera. So we glued a second row of rope. Now, the original Kirkland's piece also had like a row around the edges, and I want mine to truly be on the edge. And so I am just doing a bead of hot glue directly on the edge of the charger and gluing that to it. That's going to frame it out really nicely and give it that same vibe and look as the Kirkland's one. And just like before, we're going to do like one section at a time to make sure that our hot glue doesn't set up on us. And I don't want to get too much on the paint. Do have a few little strings, but all I got to do is kind of peel that off the mirror and clean everything up, and we should be good to go. I do the seam at the bottom just like I did the other ones. And that's going to be the bottom of my mirror. It's super cute and very lightweight, so I think it's going to be easy to hang because, again, the plastic charger is just a lightweight plastic plate, and the mirror is not very heavy either. So just cleaning up any excess hot glue and trimming off any of the fuzzies that are still there. And we have a mirror. I think it turned out so cute. Very coastal. I just flip it over and I'm going to make a super easy hanger just by taking a loop of twine and tying it to itself there at the end to make a little hanger for the back. It's going to be hidden back here. I'm going to attach it right to the middle of the charger. And then since it is a mirror, I wanted to give a little extra reinforcement back there. So I'm going to take some burlap from the Dollar Tree and just glue that on top of the knot just to secure it a little bit, but I think it's going to be fine. And we did it. We have our first shore living DIY, this little coastal mirror. It's so cute. Just need to clean the mirror. And here was the starter inspiration piece from Kirkland's, $200 on sale for $150. And here is the one that I recreated. You get the same feel, probably a little smaller, but definitely way less expensive to create. Now, it doesn't really matter which charger you get as long as it has like the little fluted parts along the edges that you can paint the different colors. And don't forget the rope. So I picked up this water bottle with the sea turtles all over it from Dollar Tree. Sea turtles in coral. It's in with their summer section. And I don't think it's great for a water bottle. It's not insulated or anything, but I thought it would be a perfect solar light. So I also picked up some of the blue willow from the Dollar Tree. I thought that would be really cute coral in there and coordinate well. I'm going to fill up the bottom of the cup with some just tan sand from the Dollar Tree to give me that beachy floor. This is about how much I'm going to use. And then I thought this would look so cute lit up at night. This is that blue willow. It is really messy, so if you're going to be cutting on it, be aware it does shed a lot. But I'm trying to cut down a piece that's going to fit in there nicely. It is a really tall glass, so it's going to make a really tall solar light. And so I find that it fit in there pretty well as is. I did have trouble like kind of arranging it in there because I can't really get my hand in the cup because it is kind of a skinnier cup. But I'm just trying to arrange that in there. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut down another piece of faux coral. I've got this willow in all different colors from Dollar Tree. I just think it makes perfect coral. And I do like it better than the glitter coral, but you can always use that as well if that's all that you can find. And of course, a third piece of coral to fill this up. Again, I was trying to press the stem down into the sand. I did make sure they had a stem on there. I did find that using a skewer from the Dollar Tree worked really well for this. You could kind of pop a hole in the sand and put the willow down into it to make sure it stands alone and it's supported by the sand there at the bottom. And again, we're going to use some of those little tiny seashells from Amazon. And I just sprinkle some all over to give me a beach effect. This is the silver solar light from the Dollar Tree, just the plain one. And as you can see, it is the perfect size for this. I do want to cover the screw top for the top of it though, to make it look more decorative. So I just take some Dollar Tree twine and some hot glue, and I'm just going to wrap that around until I cover up all of the screw part. It's also going to give me a little bit more room to glue the solar light on top. And I've used twine and hot glue for the tops of many solar lights that I've done that I've had outside for 2 years now, and they seem to hold up pretty well. I like to use hot glue when I'm doing twine and fabric and stuff like that. I find that it does tend to hold up well. I do want all of it to be covered. I don't want any of the clear glass shining through. So I wrapped that quite well with a twine and then just use a lighter to burn off the fuzzies. And what I'm using for my twine there is a yarn dispenser from Dollar Tree. I've had a lot of you guys ask about that. Super convenient, and it keeps your twine clean and ready to go. I do a bead of hot glue all along the top and then just sit my solar light right on top. As you can see, it's the same width as the bottle and makes a perfect little sea turtle solar light. The sea turtle cups are not shore living. They are just part of the summer section at Dollar Tree. And they do have like this cute little sea turtle like in different size cups as well. That would be really cute lit up. But this was really easy to put together. Some little faux coral, some sand in there. Let me show you what it looks like lit up at night. I love sea turtles, definitely one of my favorites. And this was so easy to make for a coastal solar light that will charge itself and turn itself on and off outdoors on your patio. Again, this is what it looks like during the day, our little sea turtle lamp, and this is what it looks like lit up at night. Now for the next DIY, you're going to need some sea turtles, and I am using a Shore Living item on this one, but I wanted to show you what they currently have at Dollar Tree for sea turtles for you to use in this DIY. The one on the left is a wind chime in the summer section right now at Dollar Tree, and this wooden sea turtle, I found it at the Crafter Square. The metal one is a little bit larger and more similar to what I'm going to use here in this DIY. I wanted to do a sea turtle DIY with some of the sea turtle yard stakes from the Shore Living line and some of the Dollar Tree wall shelves. I'm going to use 4 of those and then just a roll of the Dollar Tree burlap. I love using these little shelves from the Dollar Tree because you can put them together and make a sign as large as you want. And this is going to be a really large sign. I'm actually making this for outdoors in my Florida room, and I wanted something really big and fun with sea turtles on it. So one reason I love these is that they're thicker than regular Dollar Tree signs, and they're just plain wood, so you can kind of do whatever you want with them. They're super flat, they don't warp or anything like that, and I'm going to put 4 of them together just like this. Then I can have like the little sea turtles like swimming out to the ocean is what I want to do. And so the first step is just to attach them together. You can see how thick these are. I just do a bead of hot glue. I use Gorilla Glue hot glue. It works great on wood, and I've never had any problems with these being super sturdy, even outdoors. So I'm going to keep doing that all the way down, and I'm just going to make a big background for the sea turtles. What I want it to look like is the beach, and the sea turtles are coming from their nest, heading out to the ocean like they just hatched out. And I'm so excited. It's like sea turtle season where I live, and one of my favorite things to do is to go out and with the groups, you can go out and watch sea turtles lay eggs, which is really exciting. And I've even been lucky enough to be at the beach at night and see leatherback sea turtles hatching out of their nest and going to the ocean. So that's what I wanted to replicate with this. Now, the Dollar Tree burlap is a great size, and it's just big enough for the sign. But the way they package it, it's like super wrinkled. So I'm just going to go in with my Cricut Easy Press real quick and give this a quick iron. It's going to make it look better in the DIY. It's going to make it a lot easier to work with because it's plenty wide enough, but it's just long enough to make the size sign that I want. So that looks pretty good. Now to attach it to the sign, I'm just going to use Mod Podge, and I want the burlap to be a little bit bigger. I can always trim it down, and later I don't want to get it on there and have the wood be exposed, so I cut it a little bit bigger. And now I can go ahead and Mod Podge on. I'm going to use a fairly good amount of Mod Podge because it's going to be hanging on the wall. I want it to be super secure. And even though I'm using this outdoors, I'm using it in my covered Florida room, so it's not going to encounter rain or anything like that. If you were going to do that, you're probably going to have to use something a little bit stronger than Mod Podge. I don't think Mod Podge would hold up real well with like rain or the elements like that. So I just make sure I have a nice thick coat all over, super even, and then I can just lay the burlap right on top, making sure that I overlap all of the sides just a little bit, and that I try to get it on there like somewhat straight. And I just smooth it out to make sure all the areas are glued down. If they're not, I can just add a little bit more of the Mod Podge from the top. So that looks pretty good. The next thing I do is just give it a quick dry with my heat gun, and then I can trim it down to size. It's just easier to do it this way. You don't have to worry about how you get it on there or, stuff like that, or if it's not the right size. You can trim it down. You're going to get the perfect cut. And I do want the burlap to slightly overlap the edges. So I'm not cutting it super tight just because I want it to completely cover the wood. I don't want you to be able to see any of that. And what the burlap is going to represent in this DIY is the sand. I thought that would be cool. It's just about the same color as sand. And it's going to give you a coastal feel as well. So this is what it looks like so far. I'm just going to trim up any excess strings. I do like a little bit of fraying on the ends of the burlap, but since it's Mod Podge down, it's going to stay pretty well without fraying. I just poke a couple holes in the top sign. There's already holes on there to make a hanger. And I just take some Dollar Tree twine. I like to feed it in through the back and knot it in the front. I find that my signs hang better like that. So I just knot it in the front. I kind of messed up my burlap a little bit there, but I'm trying to glue it back down to fix that. So be careful because you're kind of close to the edge where it might want to come apart a little bit. But that looks pretty good. And then I can go ahead and do the same thing here on the other side. To get it started, if you can't get it through, this is pretty thin. You can put a little hot glue on the ends. This is a really thin twine from the Dollar Tree, and I think that's going to work just fine. It's so thin though that I double knot it to make sure it doesn't come through those holes like that. And now we can start thinking about the sea turtles. It's really easy to get them off the metal stakes. If you grab it right about here with a pair of pliers, you can just bend it back and forth and it will pop off. The first two were super easy. I think it just kind of depends on how exactly it's attached. This one was a little bit more difficult. It didn't want to bend in the same place, so this one took a little bit more work, but I was able to get it off. I didn't want any of that wire to be visible from the front, and I wanted to look like, little sea turtles going across the sand in a pattern kind of like that, where I can have like the beach over in one corner, but most of it's going to be like the burlap sand. For the ocean, I'm just going to go ahead and paint the burlap to give me that kind of look. So I start with like a light blue. This is Cloudless by Apple Barrel. And just using a brush, I'm just going to kind of, paint this corner to get us started. Trying to paint the burlap, but also kind of a little bit painting the sign behind it because it's kind of inevitable and kind of pushing that down into the fabric. You could always add like a different kind of blue material, but I kind of love the texture of the burlap and I wanted to keep that. So I thought painting it would be the best option. And I just do like a little pool there, like kind of curvy lines and all, and kind of work that down into the burlap by rubbing it with a paper towel till it kind of gets down into the sand a little bit. Now for the sea turtles, I want to go ahead and start gluing them on. I'm going to use a little bit of a spacer with some of those little tiny Jenga blocks from the Dollar Tree um, because it's really hard to glue metal on. So how I'm going to do it is I use E6000 to glue the Jenga block to the back of the metal. That's going to give me a secure hold. It's just going to take longer to dry because hot glue and the metal items like this from the Dollar Tree, it'll work temporarily, but it always seems to fall apart, and I don't want this to fall apart, so I'm going to go ahead and let that start drying by gluing all three of those onto our three little metal sea turtles, and then I can keep working on my ocean. I mix in like a little bit of like this Key West color so I can get like some different shades of blue to kind of make the ocean look a little bit more realistic up here. And I'm just kind of doing stripes, kind of like alternating like different shades of blue, like the ocean is. But again, I don't want to take up too much of the sign, just kind of this like little corner up here. And then just go in with a third color. I'm just kind of blending it all together just till I'm happy with it. And I have a little beach scene. Then I always like to do like a little bit of sea foam where like the beach comes into the sand. So I just take a little ivory and like a Dollar Tree chunky brush and I'm just kind of like dotting like that ivory paint on to kind of give me like a look of sea foam. And I'm also going to do like some waves out in the ocean, like some little white caps out there and kind of blend in like the little sea foam a little bit too, like that. And then I don't want it to be super obvious. I want it to be a little bit blended. So I just blend it with a baby wipe till I am happy with my little ocean scene up there. All while my sea turtles are drying a little bit with E6000. I did have to let this sit flat for a little bit because, you know, the E6000 takes a lot longer to dry than hot glue. And I want my little sea turtles to be going towards the ocean just like this. Now they do this like in the middle of the night up to like dawn. Like if you go walk on the beach at dawn, sometimes you can get lucky. When I saw the leatherback sea turtles, which were probably about this size actually, I saw them about 10:30 or 11 o'clock at night, I think. It was quite an experience. And so I just hot glued the little Jenga blocks on like that. And then I thought, since it's a sand, why not add some seashells? So I'm just going through some seashells that I have from the beach and some from the Dollar Tree and like picking out like some that aren't too big or overwhelming, just a couple seashells that would be on the beach. And that's going to add to the coastal feel as well. I'm just going to attach those with hot glue. And the burlap, of course, has holes in it, so it allows that hot glue to go down. You can glue that securely to the sign behind it. And I think that is all the sign needs. It's really big. It's really beachy. I absolutely love how this turned out. I have this hanging in my living room year round. It is nice and large and turned out really cute. If you're going to use the little metal sea turtles, you might be able to cut off the leaves of the flower and paint them to kind of get a similar effect. Or if you like the aloha design on there, or you could do like some smaller sea turtles with those wooden ones that are available now at the Dollar Tree.
Okay, the next DIY, I'm going to use one of these little hyacinth chargers from Dollar General. It's only $3. It's the perfect shape for what I want to do. I think you can pretty much get these all over spring and summertime. I just wanted something that kind of looked a little bit like woven seagrass. And I want to leave the very edges that brown color that it came, but I'm just using a small brush to try to paint the second row, ivory with just some ivory chalk paint, because what I want to do is transform this charger into a giant sand dollar for the wall. It turned out so cute. It was so easy to put together. So now that I have all the edges done, it's easy, right? I'm just going all over. I did switch to a brush so I could kind of get in between the different rows. And if you can't find one of these, you know, you might be able to make one with just Dollar Tree rope, just gluing it into a spiral pattern and then painting the rope. Or you could even use white rope and you wouldn't even have to paint it. But I kind of like having the brown edges around the side. Now I'm going to use some Dollar Tree rope to make this into a sand dollar. This is the thinner brown rope, the 9.5 foot, I believe. And I'm just going to start here by, you know, the different shapes that are on a sand dollar. We're going to try to recreate it with Dollar Tree rope. All like sand dollars have like this cool little like flower pattern. So I just go around in the shape of a petal like that. And continuing it on, I'm going to do the next one, overlapping it in the middle and then making a third little flower over here on the side. Attaching that with hot glue as well. And up here, I need 2 more loops. There's like a total of 5 loops on the little sand dollar flower that they have on the shell. And as you can see, I'm just leaving it all attached, one long piece of rope. And we're just going to make this work, just overlapping the rope in the middle. It's not real thick rope, so I think it's going to be okay. If you didn't want any height in the middle, you could always cut down 5 individual pieces, but I found keeping it all together made more sense. Now the little slits of the sand dollar, we're going to replicate those with some of that rope as well. Just gluing little slit oval shapes all over the sand dollar and all the areas that it should be. They have like 3 on one side, and they have 2 on the other. So I cut down 5 pieces of rope, all about the same size, and then just attaching it with hot glue. You kind of have to let it dry a little bit so that you can mold it into your perfect little shape. I told you this was going to be easy, right? And it turned out so cute. And it's such a lightweight piece of art. It hangs easily on my wall. I like to move it around my house because I think it's really fun. So that is kind of where the last little slit would go in our little DIY sand dollar, and just attaching that with glue as well. Now I just need a hanger for the back, so I'm just going to take a little bit of twine and tie a knot at the end, and then we can just hot glue that onto the back. Again, it's so lightweight, it's easy to hang on the wall. But this will look cute on a shelf as well, leaned up against something.
I think it looks really great made out of this charger. I guess you could kind of make that shape out of rope too if you wanted to DIY your own. But I found that to be a really good deal at Dollar General, and it makes the perfect sand dollar that decorates the hallway of my home. Very fun and coastal. I chose 3 of the chunky signs from Dollar Tree. I did get different ones just for variety, and they're kind of big. So what we're going to do is just cut these in half. And I want to do a like hanging beach sign, but I want it to look like 5 random different color, different size piece of boards for the background. And then we're going to make our letters with Dollar Tree rope. So the first thing I'm going to do is just go ahead and measure about halfway and cut this in half. They're nice, really thick signs, but they're a little too big for what we need them for. So I just cut that in half. I'm going to use that as a guide here on the other 2. And they have these like in brown, a black color. I chose the white ones just because it would be easier to paint them, but it doesn't matter. It's kind of whichever ones you can find. And so on these 2, I'm just going to go ahead and cut them exactly the same, about halfway. And I'm also going to cut their height when I'm done with them too. So I only need 5 of the 6 because we're going to spell out the word beach. And I'm also using a 5-gallon paint stick there from Walmart. So I'm kind of mixed up the 2 slat, 3 slat ones because I wanted to look random, right? So I kind of put them number 1, number 4. I'm going to actually take both of those and just cut down one side of those to make it a little bit shorter. And then flip one upside down again to make it a little bit more random. Now for this one, I'm going to cut a little off the top and the bottom to make that one the smallest one. And then I'm going to leave the other 2 as is. I think my saw might need a new blade. It's kind of cutting up the wood, but I actually kind of like the distressed for this project. Has anybody ever changed a blade on a like electric miter saw before? I wonder if it's hard. And I'm just going to paint them different colors. So I want them to look beachy. The first one, I'm just using Cloudless by Apple Barrel. It's a real light beachy blue. And just doing one sloppy coat. I want it to look distressed. That way some of the white paint will show through. And then this is Apple Barrel Key West. It's kind of got like a little bit more of a green tint to it. I thought that was really pretty. So we're going to do that on number 3 and number 5. And then I'm going to leave the second one ivory, just white, just how it is. That way it looks really random, even though the signs kind of all started out looking the same. Then I just use a sanding block, and as you can see, I'm just sanding along the edges. It's gonna make the edges white. It's gonna kind of bring that paint out from underneath of it and also distress it a little bit, which is that coastal farmhouse vibe that I'm going for. So I do that on all 4 edges, on all of these, to kind of give them that rustic beach look. I am going to distress them a little bit more too, just to kind of go with that. So I do that to all of them. I really kind of like that vibe of the white and then like the sanded edge. To distress them further, I'm just using a little antique wax by Waverly and a dry brush, and we're going to very lightly distress this just to bring some of the brown distressing through. I get kind of some of that in the ones that I cut, but I want to kind of add to it a little bit. And the one that I'm leaving like white kind of already has a distress, but I'll add a little bit more kind of to all the edges. But I am trying to like work in like kind of one direction. And don't worry if you're distressing. If you get too much on there, just have like a baby wipe handy. It's really easy to clean that up and it dries really quickly. Now I'm going to put them all together, and I needed something long. So I'm using a 5-gallon paint stirrer from Walmart. These come like in a 3-pack for like $2 and something. They're a great size for crafting. And I just cut off the handle because it was a little bit too long. And then I just used my staple gun, and I actually had to kind of switch to some longer staples to be able to go through that ruler and securely attach it to that chunky sign. Usually I need like the short staples for Dollar Tree items, but this is nice and heavy duty. So they all looked pretty good except for that one. So I just replaced that one, and we have a nice sturdy sign. You can make this like a standing sign, but I'm gonna make mine hanging. So to do that, I just take some Dollar Tree twine, and we're just gonna double knot that to make sure it doesn't slide through. And then like on the second one, I'm just gonna use my staple gun to attach that to the back. And you could always use rope if you wanted like a chunkier rope handle, but I think that this is going to be fine. So I just tie another double knot just because the twine's really small, and staple that to the back. And we have a perfect blank for beach. Now I really love like the rope beach words at Dollar Tree, but I know some of you guys can't find them, so I'm going to show you how I made my own. So I'm using the 9.5-foot brown rope, but anything you can find. I find that the thinner one works a little bit better for letters because it's easier to move around. And I'm going to try to cut as less as possible. So I'm going to start with my middle one because that is my smallest block, right? And I'm going to fill up most of that with a letter. And we're spelling out the word beach, so we're going to have an A here. And since this is my first letter, I really don't have anything to go with, so just kind of freestyling this one. It looks like I need to cut it down a little bit because it's a little bit longer on the right side than the left side, and then just hot glue this on. You're going to want to use hot glue everywhere the rope is. You're not going to want any of that to pull away, especially like on a hanging sign like this, and for it to keep the shape to spell out letters. And we're just going to do capital block letters really easy. Cutting down a smaller piece for the center of the letter. Make sure you hold the piece you're cutting when you cut that. Otherwise it can unravel, and you don't want that to happen. It happens really easily on the short pieces of rope. Now that looks pretty good. Now let's go ahead and measure it for reference, so I'll kind of know how big to make my next letter. It looks like it's about 2¼ inches wide, and I can start here on my E. Again, I'm going to try to cut the rope as little as possible, so I will use that same piece of rope for the top, the side, and the bottom. I just kind of went ahead and sketched it on so that I can see exactly where I need to be and try to keep it in measurement. Now, this is a bigger block, and the letter looks a lot bigger. I don't know if I measured it wrong or if it just appears a little bit bigger than the A, but it's okay. They're all supposed to look random anyway. So just working on one section at a time, I put hot glue on the line. So sketching it out with a pencil can be a really good idea, especially if you're doing like cursive and stuff like that, something a little bit tricky. But this is pretty easy to do, just the capital letters. So there is this middle section of my E. I did have to cut a separate piece for that. And I tried to smush it a little bit because it looked like it was a little bit bigger, but again, that's okay. So here is the letter C. That one's going to be really easy. I'm going to go ahead and cut that down to size, one piece. But I am going to kind of give me some reference points for how tall it should be. So I have kind of a guide to go through. And then I'm just going to do like part of the C at a time. Like the top half and then the bottom half. And I didn't really need to sketch that one out. That was pretty easy. And then I'm going to use that same size as guidelines to make a B. So I kind of put dots how long the B needs to go out to be the right width. And then I just start on the left side. I'm going to wrap it around. I'm going to go ahead and cut it right here because it's a little too thick to bend back really easily there. And so I am just going to hot glue that right there into the middle of the B. And then I'm going to have to do the top part of the B separately. I guess I could have started here, and again, I don't want doubled up rope right here. So I'm actually going to cut it about halfway and kind of cut it at a diagonal so it'll kind of blend in a little bit more and it won't be super thick right there where the B comes together. One more letter. We have an H, super easy. Now that I know the dimensions, and it's a nice easy letter. I do have to cut it into 3 pieces just because that's how the letter is shaped. And I really love how this sign came together. I think it was really easy. It's real sturdy. This is a piece that you could definitely sell if you wanted. I want to enjoy mine though. Just by cutting the little wood signs like that into different shapes, it gives this really a lot of character. And then of course, like painting them different colors and making the letters out of rope was actually really easy. And it definitely adds to the coastal touch of this fun beach sign. Now for the next DIY, I wanted to see if I could make a rope bowl. I've been seeing people sell these and I'm like, you know what? I could totally make that with supplies from the Dollar Tree, and it would be a cute way to show off some seashells or some beach finds. So I'm just gonna take the Dollar Tree rope. This is the longer, skinnier rope from the Dollar Tree. And I'm using this one just because it's gonna be longer. I won't have as many seams. And I'm going to start here just on my silicone mat just to get us started, because what I want to do is spiral this, hot gluing it to itself. I'm using a metal mixing bowl I had as a template. Because the hot glue won't stick well to that, it'll be easy to remove. And again, I don't want to glue it to the bowl. I just want to use that as the shape of my bowl to help me get the shape I'm going for. So I just work my way around, adding hot glue to the rope that I had just added and then gluing on another layer. I want the bottom of my bowl to be flat like this. So until I get to the edges here of the bowl, it's pretty flat, but now I can start making it take this shape. I just spin it as I go. And one reason I do that, I want to make sure that I'm not hot gluing it down, and then I don't have to turn the whole bowl either to get this shape, but still bending it around the shape as I go, as I'm slightly raising the sides each time with the hot glue. Now I did end up using 2 packages because I wanted this to be a pretty large rope bowl. And the seams on the white nautical rope are a little bit harder to hide sometimes. So I'm actually going to use some burlap to make some little tags to cover that. So I'm going to start my second package right about here. If you stopped at this point, you would have a small tray instead of more of a bowl, which is what I was going for. So I'm going to start and stop here. Now I know a lot of people when they make their rope bowls take string or yarn and tie off the seams. I'm going to see if I can get kind of the same look just using some burlap. So I went ahead and attached my second piece like this. Now normally I wouldn't put the tag here, but you know what? I'm going to do a burlap tag at the top. So I thought a burlap tag here would be fine too. And I can just make sure that both of my tags are on the same side of my rope bowl. And so I just cut off a little piece of burlap from the burlap roll from the Dollar Tree and made a little tag to go around this, sealing that all together. And I think it adds a fun little touch to the rope bowl. And we can continue on. I want to use pretty much the entire second package of the Dollar Tree rope. And I'm putting the glue kind of on the bottom side of the rope because I know I'm trying to get that more vertical shape now. And using the metal bowl worked really well. It provided me a great shape. I didn't really damage the bowl at all. I was able to remove any hot glue on there once it set up a little bit. And it gave me the perfect shape I wanted for this bowl. It's kind of a floppy bowl being made out of rope, but I kind of like that. Adds a lot of character to it. So I'm going to keep going around until I use pretty much this entire package of rope. I do want to make sure that my seams are on the same side. Since I'm going to have the little burlap tag, I think I have enough to go around one more time here. And then end it right here, almost the perfect length. I trimmed it down a tiny bit so they would be symmetrical, and then I'm going to make that little burlap tag here. I found this was easier than the sewing method for sure to cover your ends on your rope bowl, and burlap is usually pretty readily accessible. You could also use the faux burlap from the faux burlap bags from the Dollar Tree. That would work well too and be easy to work with. And I just wrap that around, providing a little tag there. And you can see our rope bowl is pretty big. I love it. I'm going to melt some of the hot glue that might have seeped through and just clean the whole thing up with my heat gun a little bit. As you can see, it's kind of a floppy bowl. It's nice and big though. Be a great centerpiece or accent piece. I'm going to fill it up with some Spanish moss here from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to fill this up with seashells and beach treasures, whatever I can find around my house. This is one of the wood beads from the Shore Living line last year. I told you guys I still have a stash of those, so I'm going to sprinkle in some Shore Living items here every now and then. And this was a fun starfish. I do want this to have a little color though, so I'm going to paint mine Caribbean blue just for fun. As you can see, it's like a resin starfish that's got a lot of texture on there, so I think painting it that like turquoise color will be pretty. I'm going to add some driftwood. This is not actual driftwood from the beach. This is just driftwood vase filler that I have from Target. Different pieces, a lot smaller scale. I just kind of scatter those around my rope basket. And then we're going to add seashells. Again, I have tons of seashells from the last time I went to Sanibel. And when you go to Sanibel, you'll find you get all the same type of seashells a lot of times. So I have a lot of these that are similar. So I'm going to try to mix them up a little bit here with finds that I have from the beach. And just pile it in here. Again, anytime I can display my beach treasures, I'm happy with that. Add some more colorful ones as well. We can add some of the Dollar Tree sea glass. This stuff is so pretty. When we went to Grand Turk and the Turks and Caicos for Christmas, I was actually able to find real sea glass on their beaches, which was a really fun find. I want the starfish to be on top, kind of the star of the show, and this is how I styled my rope basket. Really easy to put one of these together. You could do it out of the brown rope too, like the wider one, but you're going to get kind of a more substantial basket if you do it with a white nautical rope like this. You can add whatever beach treasures you have, if you have some shells from the beach or if you've purchased them, and make a really cute display. You can also get starfish on Temu.
I wanted to kind of, I don't know what it's called, maybe a diorama. I wanted to make a little sea display inside of a frame. So I picked up one of these little frames with the little cactus in it from Dollar Tree, and we're just gonna pop off the back. I just want the frame. It can be anything that's got like the four sides that you can pop the back out of that's gonna sit on its own. I kind of liked the finish of this frame. I thought it looked nice and coastal with the wood, and so I don't have to paint it or anything, and that is going to be the frame for our little ocean scene. And just making sure it can stand up on its own, and it totally can. I did notice there were some little nails sticking out that held the back on, so I'm going to go ahead and remove all of those with a pair of pliers. And we can start decorating this. I'm going to use some driftwood that I found at the beach, trying to pick out some smaller pieces here that will fit inside the frame. Kind of a variety of different kinds, different textures. This one's a little big. I'm just going to kind of rip that one in half. But I like the feel of it. I think it looks kind of cool. And you know, you could always use any kind of sticks too if you're like not at the beach. Just get creative. And I could think that looks kind of cool. All these different kinds of sticks, sizes, shapes. And I want to paint a couple of them just to provide some contrast. So I'm going to paint some of the skinnier ones, just a light blue color. I just mixed like a Caribbean blue acrylic with some ivory to give me that soft beachy blue. And then I'm going to kind of wipe off the excess with a baby wipe, which is going to give me like a light blue stain on that. The reason that I'm going to paint some of the driftwood is just to provide more color, make it a little bit more colorful, and I'm glad it did. It really turned out cute. I thought we could use the driftwood plus the floral pick, plus those cute little wood fish to create like a little ocean scene. I originally thought about using that coral over there too from the fairy garden, but I actually did not end up needing it. But you can get creative. You can add seashells, starfish, whatever you've got. Now, I kind of want this piece to be at an angle, and it's kind of the perfect size. So I'm just going to find some connection points where I can glue that down to the top and the bottom, and also the side. I was going to do a video intro today. I've been trying to do those on my new content, but you know, your girl has allergies and the pollen is crazy today here in Florida. My eyes, I think, are almost swollen shut. Oh, they hurt so bad. I hate it. So I'm just going to glue one of the blue ones, like kind of crisscrossing that larger one and gluing it on top, attaching at the top and the bottom. Then this one, we're just going to kind of glue that straight from the bottom. That one's going to kind of stand on its own right there. So I definitely have to give the hot glue some time to set up. I do add a little bit more there in the back just to help reinforce it. And I think that looks pretty sturdy. And then these little blue ones can kind of go up. I'm trying to replicate kind of like a coral scene. I had a piece of coral that I found at the beach the other day, and I was going to use that in this, but it was way too big. So I need to pick up some smaller coral pieces because that would be really cute in there as well. Our coral here, when it washes ashore, is not real pretty, but you can paint it and do some cute stuff with it. And then I'm going to glue this one to the bottom and the side. Anytime you have like a little knot or something on that, it's going to give you a little connection point. And just letting my hot glue set up on those so that it's nice and sturdy. And I think we have a really good backdrop. We're just going to leave the back open. And now it's time to decorate with some sea creatures and some plants. So this has got like several different kinds of greenery on it. The blue seahorse one, this one has like green greenery. I noticed that the white seahorse one has like brown, like a more brownish color. So I kind of wanted the green and this little blue seahorse. So I'm just going to start taking some of this. It looks like seaweed and stuff like that. And start finding places to attach it. I'm going to glue it tip to the bottom. But I'm also going to glue some leaves over here on the side. And just kind of trim it down too to make it fit. Some of them were a little bit too long. And that looks cool, kind of going up the side. And this one, I really like this one, so I'm going to go ahead and use both of those. Kind of this one in front of that log, trimming it down too. I glued it to the bottom, also going to glue it to some of the driftwood to make sure it stays upright. And I kind of like these little ones too. They just needed a little trimming, and these are pretty lightweight, so I'm just going to kind of glue that to the front of that driftwood, kind of going off to the side. And this one too. And I think that's about it. I don't think I really need any more greenery in there. It's getting a little full. Now it's time to attach that adorable little seahorse. It's got wires wrapped around its tail, so I'm going to take advantage of that just by using those to wrap them around a piece of driftwood here and attach that on there. The wire is pretty strong keeping it on there, but I am going to just slightly glue that down so the little seahorse kind of stays exactly where it's supposed to. Now, the little fish have clothespins on them, which I'm not a big fan on, but sometimes you can pop them off. I'm popping mine off with a pair of pliers. It is still a little bit challenging to pop them off without breaking them, but they're so cute. I thought 2 would be really cute of these little fish kind of like swimming like in a little school. I don't really have room for much more. So I'm just going to glue those to the driftwood, leaving them in that raw wood. I think that looks great against the blue and the browns. And there is our little coastal ocean scene. This turned out so cute and it was so fun to make. And you know, I have so much driftwood, so I really need to do more projects like this.
But it made such a cute decor piece. Now I did use a couple of shore living items that I had in my stash. I had the little seahorse, but you could also use whatever you can find, like the little wooden fishes, stuff like that, really easy to find on Temu, maybe Amazon as well. You could kind of make yours however you wanted, and most of the wood pieces there are free. Okay, for the next beach DIY, we're going to take one of these Dollar Tree wood plaques and make it into a fun coastal display. I had this idea where I wanted to do a dolphin at sunset. So I'll show you how I put this together. I went ahead and removed the hanger. I like the color of it, but I want it to be just a little bit warmer. So to do that, I'm going to mix some Antique Wax by Waverly with some water to make a very thin stain. I just want to change it oh so subtly because this is going to be the background for my dolphin. And these signs are a little bit sealed anyway, but Antique Wax by Waverly does a pretty good job of, you know, coloring it a little bit, but I didn't want it to be too dark, not too warm. So I put that all over and use a paper towel to kind of dry that off. I just wanted to tone it down slightly, and that worked well. Now, I designed this great free printable for you guys that I'm going to include in the description of this video, but I also wanted to show you how to use the print and cut feature on your Cricut because I know a lot of you guys have no idea that it's even there. So you click New Project. I'm going to share a PNG file of this dolphin with you, and then you click Upload, and you're going to upload the image. So I'm going to take you through the steps because it's pretty easy to do. I'm going to go Upload and then Browse and select the image that I shared with you. You can hit Continue. I've already removed the background, so you can kind of skip this step in your process. So I'm just going to click Apply and Continue. And then what you want to choose is a flat graphic. Hit Upload, and it's going to bring it into your canvas of your design space. Now, it's bigger than what will cut on my Cricut Joy Extra. I want it to be as big as I possibly can get it. You can kind of size it, but see how I have the image too large? It also has this auto resize image where it will make it as large as you can make it. Now, when I click Make It, it wants to know if I save it. You can save it with a name. You don't have to. Then you get the print and cut feature. So basically, it sends this to your printer, and it's going to put some reference marks on there for your cutting machine. So I'm going to send it to my printer, make sure I have the right printer. I printed mine out on cardstock. So while that's printing, I'm going to go ahead and set this up. Cardstock is going to be my material for my Cricut. It's just a value cardstock. I think that's going to be fine to cut it out. And then I have it printed out. I put it on a light grip mat. You automatically feed it into the Joy Extra, and I am going to have it cut it. What it does, it goes in and it reads those little black corners that print it out on the image. That's why you have to print through the Cricut design space. And then once it reads that, it will just cut it out. It's going to cut it out perfectly. So it's ready to unload. I have my image here cut out. You could always cut it out yourself, but I wanted to show you the print and cut feature because I know a lot of you guys have asked me if your Cricuts will do it, and even the Cricut Joy Extra will do it. So I'm just peeling off the cardstock. I have a perfectly dolphin size. I thought it'd be really fun to do a dolphin jumping at sunset on a dolphin. I had this image in my head and I wanted to try to see if I could create this. Now, the next challenge is I'm going to need to cut it into slats because the sign is slatted. I think that's going to make it look really cool. So I'm trying to figure out, it fits exactly on this Dollar Tree sign, and I'm going to have to cut it before I glue it. That way I don't tear anything. So I'm just going to use a razor blade and I just lay it right where I want it. Use that groove in the Dollar Tree sign to cut that. My razor blade was not super sharp, so I did have to kind of touch it up with my scissors to make sure that I didn't have any tearing or anything like that visible. For this second section of my dolphin, I am going to have to cut off like the mouth of the dolphin and the tail. And the reason I'm cutting them like this is because that groove in between the slats is rather big. So even if I were to cut it after I would have attached it, I don't think it would have looked very good because I want that line to kind of continue between the boards. So this is a little tricky cutting this small piece off here, but I was able to cut it enough where I was able to cut it down to size. You don't want it to go over, so you might need to trim it a little bit to make sure it doesn't go over the line. And then I have the tail piece left. I'm going to go ahead and line that up where it's going to be. So I'll know exactly how to cut like the little fluke tail off down here. That way I can attach it in multiple pieces. So basically we have puzzle pieces now. So I had to do that cutting. So I wanted to use the print and cut if I could. It would make it easier to cut the dolphin out, right? I use a coat of Mod Podge. I do the entire board, not just where I'm gluing. That way, it's just going to give me a matte finish. We're going to go further and distress it and seal it to make sure that this kind of becomes part of the sign. And I just do one wood slat at a time, making sure this one is cut down to size perfectly before I put the glue on there. But just another coat of Mod Podge. Definitely want to get it thick enough where I'm putting the cardstock to be able to glue that down. And one reason I love to Mod Podge with cardstock instead of paper is it dries quickly. You don't have to worry about bubbling that you do with like a thinner sheet of paper. So for this section, I have like the mouth of the dolphin and this tail part. And I love this watercolor image I designed. I think it's so pretty. And then for the tail piece, I do the entire board with Mod Podge and then just attach the little fluke to the dolphin tail. I don't do a lot of dolphin crafting, but I love dolphins, so maybe I should do a little bit more. I hope the print and cut tutorial was helpful. I tried to go fast on it so I wouldn't bore people that knew how to do it. So if you need it a little bit slower, you can always slow-mo my video down to 50% or something like that and see exactly the steps that I was doing, but it was pretty easy to do. Now that I have it all down and dry, I can go over it with more Mod Podge. And it's pretty easy. You don't have to wait a long time for the cardstock to dry either. I do want to use a paper towel because I did get like some Mod Podge down in the grooves between the boards. I didn't want that to glue wide or anything like that, so I did try to dry that up. And I want to seal it enough where there's no chance that that paper is coming up and, you know, that it's sealed down really well. Then I'm going to go over everything and distress it. So I'm just using some ivory paint, acrylic paint, and a dry brush, and I'm just distressing all the boards because I want them to look really coastal. So I'm not just distressing the boards, I'm also distressing the dolphin painting to really make it look really cohesive and like it is part of the sign. Now, the distressing is totally optional. It's just whether that's your vibe or not. I love distressing for Coastal Farmhouse. This is the original hanger. I just used the knot in the front. I had to cut off one of the knots to be able to get it off and strung it through and just re-knotted it there on the front. And we have a fun dolphin at sunset dolphin sign. I think it's really fun. Definitely take advantage of that print and cut feature if you do have a Cricut. It can be really helpful and save you a lot of cutting, especially with like shapes like this. But I thought this was really fun. This is another easy way that you can use items from the Dollar Tree without using anything from our beloved Short Living line, which I miss so much.
Check out these little burlap stretch canvases. These are new. I've only seen them at my largest Dollar Tree, and I got a bunch of them, and I went there again today, and they have them again, and they're so great for coastal. I love burlap. Now, it's a 5x7 frame, so I thought, you know, I could just buy a frame, and this is a new frame as well. They had this at my store with the Mother's Day, but I thought it looked a little bit coastal. It looks like a wood with like a white print on it, and I thought we could just simply frame one of these little Shore Living sand dollars and see if I can put all of these things together. I don't really like when the little sand dollars are gray, and these are left over from last year. Mine last year were a lot more gray than they are this year, but I'm just going to paint it with a couple coats of ivory just to brighten that up and make it look like sun bleached. What I want to do is mount that on the burlap. This is a really easy DIY. I wasn't sure though, because the frame, you know, is not going to be deep enough for that burlap canvas, but I think we can make it work. So I take the back off and remove the glass out of the 5x7 frame, and you can use probably any 5x7 frame from Dollar Tree or wherever. And then I'm going to use my pliers to just pull out the little staples because those won't work anymore for what we're doing. Then I was wondering if I could just pop like the little burlap canvas in here, and look at that. It is a perfect fit. So I think this is gonna work. Pretty cool, huh? Now I noticed that when I put the back on, even though it's like a light color of, you know, paper, like wood paper, it looks dark. See how that looks darker in the center than it does around the edges? And so I thought, I want to use the back because I want something to be able to sit this on a shelf. So I'll just brighten it up a little bit by painting the back cardboard that same ivory color and see if that makes it a little bit brighter. So I just simply paint all over. I didn't really want to make a stand for this if I could reuse that. I also take some ivory and just distress the frame ever so lightly and follow that up with a baby wipe. I don't want too much distress, but I just wanted to add that coastal vibe of the frame, which I think it kind of already has. So I think that looks pretty good. We can start putting this thing together. I'm just going to try to attach the back to the burlap canvas because like the staples wouldn't go around this because the canvas is going to kind of be sticking out a little bit in the back, which is fine. You won't be able to see it. So I just hot glue that to the back of the canvas, and that actually worked out really well. That way I can still use the little thing to make it stand up, or you could use the hangers on there as well. I think I'm going to do it sideways. I think that'll look cool. I'm just going to attach the little sand dollar from the Dollar Tree with some hot glue right there in the center. And I love things like this glued onto the burlap. That's when I realized I am going to have to glue the burlap into the frame. I thought it was going to kind of stay put, but no such luck. So I just do a small bead of hot glue all around the inside edges and then glue that back down on top of the burlap canvas. And I think it looks really good, and this was so easy to put together. Here is our little burlap and sand dollar. 3 items from the Dollar Tree, just putting them all together, and I think it turned out really cute.
Now, I have a huge craft stash of the sand dollars and the starfish from Dollar Tree. I would order them by the case, but you can find these easily on Amazon. I've gotten them from Temu too. And if you need to DIY your own burlap canvas, it would be pretty easy to do with just one of the canvases from the Dollar Tree and some burlap that you stretched over it and attached to the back. For the next DIY, I picked up one of these anchor signs. Now, I can still kind of find these in my crafter square section a little bit, the coastal signs. It's a pretty simple shape that I think you could probably cut out of any kind of cardboard, like cereal box even. Something that you could cut through with a stencil. And if I'm able to, I will try to include a printable for that if you needed like a stencil shape for the background, because you're not going to be able to see that part anyway, the wood sign, if you're not able to find one. And I'm using some of the Dollar Tree brown rope. That's the thinner rope. Basically, you could use whatever you could find. I know it's been a little bit slim pickings on the rope lately. I seem to be able to find the thinner one a lot more. And I just hot glue it right down the center of the anchor and bringing it up here on the side.
Now, using that same piece, I'm hot gluing it around the edge of my anchor, kind of framing it out. But I want to kind of use one piece of rope as far as I can with this. There are going to be some areas that I'll have to fill in where I will have to cut individual pieces. But as long as I'm going, I'm going to try to use one piece. I decided to kind of skip the side parts there. I thought those would be easier to come back and do separately. Just keep going with that same piece of rope around the ring at the top, going down the side, and then we're going to go around this side of the anchor as well. Just kind of doing one section at a time. So my hot glue does not dry out. And trying to keep that anchor shape for this little rope DIY. So we go all the way back down to the starting point, going to make a sharp turn and come back up to the top. Now we kind of hit the ring part, so I do decide to cut it there. And then we can start on the other side, kind of doing the same thing, coming down to the bottom. And then sharp turn, come right back up and fill that in. That looks great. I can continue that around the ring. Now, I got to that point and I kind of ran out of room because I didn't have it spaced great over there, but I show you how I'll fix that. I'm going to go in and finish off the ring though while we're up there with another piece of rope, gluing that down tight. I've never made a rope project like this, but I love how it turned out. It was super fun. So there wasn't quite enough room to get my rope in there, but I figured that if I used my heat gun, I could loosen my hot glue enough where I could kind of push that over a little bit, and that worked. And then I'm going to hot glue that down, that last piece. And that was one piece of rope. That was how far it went. And so we're going to go ahead and open another package here. This was a really easy DIY to make, and I just love how it turned out. It's so coastal. It would also go with like a nautical feel. So this one, kind of tricky. I kind of start in the middle, go up to the middle, turn corners, trying to fill in any space, and then gonna come around the side and kind of go into the little point shape, gluing it right next to the first row of rope that we did. And then I just decided to keep going kind of in a circular fashion just to kind of fill up the entire tip. Now I thought I might as well do the other side in the reverse pattern while I could still see exactly what I did, so I'll know how to do the same thing. Kind of going down the middle to the middle, starting in the middle, going to the middle of the anchor, and then following that to the tip of the anchor, and kind of going in a circular pattern until I fill that completely in. Now we still have like lots to fill in there, so we're just gonna have to be kind of creative. I start here where we kind of left off and go around to the bottom and make a sharp turn, trying to kind of fill in that like triangular shape and come back down. Trimming it there, I didn't really think I could make it go any further than that. And then just cutting down some little pieces to fill up the hole. Now, I find that you gotta kind of hold it when you're cutting those small pieces like that, otherwise they'll kind of fall apart. So I'm gonna repeat the same thing here on the other side, same steps. I didn't have this one spaced quite as evenly though, so I'm just going to kind of fill up the two little spaces with the little rope pieces, and it looks pretty good. Now we just have the little side parts here. We're going to start in the middle and go around this little circular pattern here on the side. And then I thought we should try to use one piece on this as well, just kind of working in a circular pattern and gluing that down, cutting it down to size, filling that in. And isn't this cool? I love a rope anchor. I think that's a really fun idea. We're going to go in on the other side and do the same thing. And it's already got like the ring on the top of the anchor, so it's going to be really easy to attach a hanger for this. It's kind of a medium-sized project. This would be cute on a door or hanging on a wall. Actually, you know, you could probably even display it on a shelf too. You could kind of lean it up against something. Like that would be really cool on a cabinet as well. So once I get it all glued on there, I'm just going to go in with my heat gun, try to clean up any of the hot glue strings that we might have. And it also helps the hot glue disappear if any of it's really visible. I'm also going to go in, since it's a rope project, and burn off all my fuzzies all the way around. Now, I thought it was really cute as is. I do want to decorate it a little bit, though. I was kind of thinking, you know, it probably needs like a rope decor, but it's already covered in rope. So I'll show you what I do for that. For the hanger, I'm going to hang mine. So I use just a little bit of twine here and just knot that around the ring. Super easy. And then I thought we'd switch it up and go with the white nautical rope from the Dollar Tree. You guys know I always have a stash of both colors because I love crafting with this. Great for coastal decor. And you know how anchors have like the rope tied and like usually kind of wrapped around it when you have like an anchor for display? I thought we could do that with this white rope. So I'm just going to kind of, I want to like kind of the unwound edge of that to show through. So I kind of string that through the ring at top and then just start wrapping it around the middle of the anchor. And then I kind of want to wrap it around the bottom parts of the anchor as well. It felt a little awkward at this stage, trying to figure out exactly how I wanted it. So I try a couple times just to try to get it like exactly kind of the vibe. I just kind of want it to look like it's draped around it. And that kind of like anchor feel. So I'm going to cut that down to size, kind of hot glue this to the bottom of the anchor so it stays in place. And then I do kind of have to secure it to the back with some more hot glue just to make sure that it kind of keeps the shape that I wanted. And then I also glue it to the top there. I kind of like the raw edges, kind of unwind those a little bit and make it look a little bit rugged. And then I wanted like a slight coastal touch, but nothing too much. I decided to use some of those little tiny starfish that I get on Amazon that are in my shop, some of the larger ones actually, of the two, and just glue a couple of those on. I liked the ivory color combination with this. You could also use seashells. That'd be really cute as well. But how cute is this DIY? I thought it was really easy.
It would make a great wall hanging. You could also make it a freestanding anchor sign. And again, this shape is pretty common. If you wanted to DIY your own with some cardboard or something, you totally could. And I will try to include a link. I have found some websites that have some of the wood signs similar to what they had at Dollar Tree, pretty inexpensive.
Now the next DIY, I'm just going to take one of the Dollar Tree mason jars and one of their hanging lids that has like a cutout. This one's a star. It doesn't really matter. You're not going to be able to see it. And a Dollar Tree solar light. Again, I don't really like the black color. I don't think that looks coastal. So we're just going to paint it. I'm going to use that same Sand Dollar Rust-Oleum color spray paint that I've used on other solar lights. And I am going to spray just the top of the lid and the handle, that ivory color. You could always paint with acrylic if you don't have spray paint, but I kind of had it out. It was all set up. I might as well use it. And it works pretty good on metal. Now we can start preparing the jar. It's just a regular size mason jar. It's going to fit that lid that we got there. And then I'm going to combine it with some of the fairy garden beach items that I got this year. This is like the little beach lounge chair with the hat. And there's even like a little beach sign. I think there's going to be plenty of room in the mason jar for both of them. I don't want them to move around or anything once I get it together. So I just attach them with hot glue to the bottom of my jar, making sure the numbers and stuff like that is on the back of the jar, so that won't be the front. And just hot glue both of those in place on the bottom of the jar, just like that. And they have so many fun options. You could do like seahorses, sea turtles, sand castles. They have so many cute things. And then I'm going to fill in the beachy area with Dollar Tree sand, kind of shaking it around, making sure that I have enough to cover the bases, but not too much. I don't want to cover up those cute decorations. And then just clean up them with a dry paintbrush. We'll get the sand off of them. And then this is the white lid. I'm just going to put it on there and screw this into place. It was a little tricky getting it started, but it definitely fit on there just fine. And now we can add the solar light. It can shine through that cutout on the top of the hanger. So the hanger is going to allow me to hang this up. And then the cutout is going to allow the light to shine through. I just do hot glue in between each one of the rays of the star and sit my solar light right there on top. The solar light is the silver. I could have painted it, but I'm actually just going to cover that with burlap too. So I'm just going to cut another piece of burlap ribbon down to size. I do cut off the edges on these because I like it to look all frayed. And since I'm cutting it skinnier than it normally is. And I was trying to start that one. Did not want to start. I'm just going to have to cut it. And I just cut a strip that's going to be wide enough to cover that again. And I think that's going to look good. It's going to make it less of a contrast between the silver and the ivory lid, kind of make it look more intentional.
I just attach that by hot gluing it to the back and overlapping it. Super easy solar light DIY. You can hang this from a hook. You could hang this from a tree. You could sit it around on a table or on the ground. It's going to look cute. It has so many different uses, very versatile. And I always love a fun solar light DIY. Now, have you found any of the little beach fairy garden items at your Dollar Tree? I feel like I haven't seen them for a while, but I do find them every now and then. You could also add like seashells, anything that you have from the beach in there that's going to give you a little coastal vibe. But I really love those fairy garden items. So I hope that Dollar Tree hasn't discontinued those. But this is what it looks like lit up at night, nice and bright. I love a good jar project. I always pick up the mason jars in different sizes just to have them on hand for crafting because they can make really easy projects. Now, these are shore living. These are the glass floats. Well, they're made out of plastic. If you want a DIY tutorial on these, I have DIY'd these. I will try to include a link to them. I made them for Christmas ornaments for my trees, so you can DIY them if you don't have any of these left over. And I'm going to use 3 of the turquoise and 2 of the clear for this. You can use whatever you can find. I kind of wanted 2 different colors and I wanted an odd number. You could do like 3, 5, 7. Any of that would look really good, I think. So I'm just going to leave them as is. They are perfect. I have a scrap piece of Dollar Tree rope that I'm going to use for this project. And I'm going to kind of loop it like this so one end is longer than the other and then just simply tie it on itself there at the top. That can be the hanger and it can have 2 little ropes hanging down. Now to attach the little fishing floats to the rope, I'm just using Dollar Tree twine. It's going to blend in with the rope and the twine that's already on these. And I can kind of stagger like clear, turquoise, like that. 2 on one side and 3 on the other. So I just simply tie the twine, tying it on just about an inch down from where I have it knotted off at the top. And then I can put the second one down here towards the bottom. I want to hang them where they're all kind of like staggered, but it also looks like they're all hanging with rope, which is why I use the rope for the base. Now for this side, we're going to do the same thing. I'm just going to go turquoise, clear, turquoise. They also have royal blue for this, if that's kind of more your color scheme. But definitely look for these. I know they are going fast in the stores that I've been in. They're so cute. I did not see these online, I don't think. Otherwise, I probably would have ordered a case of them. So I'm just kind of estimating where to tie these off. I'm going to tie all 3 and then kind of see how it hangs. I want it to look like a bunch of little glass fishing floats hanging together for my wall. So easy and so cute. So I tied this one towards the bottom, kind of testing it out. It hangs like way lower than the rest of them. So I'm going to move it up a little bit and see if that hangs a little bit better. But this cannot be any easier. I have bought as many of these as I possibly can because I think these would make an awesome coastal Christmas tree with little ornaments, right? That looks way better. Let me show you how it looks hanging up. I love them all strung together like this. I have these for a decor piece, like next to something larger in my living room where I have like a buoy that I thrifted and painted on the other side of it, and they balance each other and look oh so coastal here in my living room. And again, I will link the DIY to DIY those yourself. Up next, let's make a mermaid gnome. I found this great little pencil case that's a mermaid tail from Dollar Tree. I'm going to use that with one of those little metal round signs from the Dollar Tree. Some cardboard from a pizza box, a wood bead for the nose. I get those on Amazon, but you don't have to use a bead that big, but I like my nose for my gnomes to be a little bit larger. And some Dollar Tree macrame cord. So the first thing we're going to do is paint our little gnome nose. I kind of want it to be flesh color, but I kind of wanted it to be pink too. So I had like this tan color that I went over the little wood bead with first. And then I followed that up with like a salmon color, kind of mixing the 2 colors together while it was wet to kind of give it like a little blushed little gnome nose for our gnome.
Now, I have a couple of these little mermaid pencil bags, and I've always wanted to do something with them, and I haven't been able to figure out what to do with them until now. It worked perfect for a beach gnome. Now, it does have a zipper, as you can see, because it is like a little pencil case. So I do want to remove that. That's kind of in my way. So it was easy to kind of remove it from the back. The front was a little bit more difficult, though, because I didn't really want to cut through the mermaid scale pattern, you know, the little sequence. And so I'm just going to cut off the zipper. And then how I ended up doing it was just kind of pulling it a little bit and cutting the strings that where it was sewed on, so I don't really have to cut through any of the sequins. And that what's inside is a little white like cotton bag, which you could leave in there if you want. I decided what was the purpose of it really to be in there, so I just took it out. And that looks pretty good. It's got like a plush back and a sequins front. But I'm going to use that bag that I removed for a template for my pizza box. I was trying to find some cardboard because I want something stiff to go in the mermaid tail to make it stand up. Otherwise, it's going to be kind of floppy. So I cut out the cardboard about the same size as the little bag that went inside of it to make it rigid. And we're just going to put it right in there. Now, I kind of want it to be attached, so it'll be easier to put together. So I do a little bead of hot glue on the cardboard and kind of fold my sequins over, kind of sandwiching that in. My sequins part was a little bit longer because I didn't remove any of that part of the little mermaid tail. It's so pretty. I love the colors on this. And then I thought this little sign from the Dollar Tree, they have these available in white or black. It doesn't matter which one you get because you're not really going to be able to see it. We're just going to use it for the structure and for the base. So that's going to be our gnome. And we're going to build off of that. Most of the gnome that you're going to be able to see is the beard anyway, right? So this is macrame cord that I got at Dollar Tree. If you can't find this, you could always use Dollar Tree mop heads. There's lots of other options. There's like the fluffy mop head, or you can get, you know, like a traditional mop head. You can use lots of different kinds of white strings if you wanted to have yours to have a white beard, like I do. So I'm going to kind of start here on the bottom. And I want to do like a first layer of the beard. I want the beard to be nice and thick, so I'm going to end up doing a couple of layers here. And I'm just kind of cutting the cord down like one at a time and just hot gluing that to my sign, kind of like working my way up the circle there until I kind of get over to the side where it's going to be wide enough for like the hat to come down over it. And one of my Crafty Beach Bum viewers was telling me that these are called gonks, if you can't see their eyes. So that's just a random little gnome fact. But I love making gnomes, and I thought this would be a really fun little beach project today. We have a lot of variety, though. We have lots of different things that we're making today. I can't wait for you to see. Now, once I got my first row on there, I wanted to comb it out. Now, normally I can comb this stuff out, but I was having problems with this one, and it's like 3 strings wound together for the macrame cord. I found that it was easier just to actually just unwind them. So I'm going to skip that part, kind of get to the end, so that you can see what it looks like with the first row all unwound. And as you can see, it's a good start to a beard, but it's not quite thick enough. But I'm going to go ahead and trim it while I can get to this part of the beard, kind of making it a little bit shorter on the sides. And I don't really want it to be longer than my sign itself, so I need to trim the bottom part of it too. Just trying to even that up a little bit. And then I think like the little gnome nose will go there. I'm going to attach the wood bead there with like the hole in the wood bead going straight up and down so that you won't be able to see it. The hole in the top will be covered by the hat and the hole in the bottom will be pointed down. So it's just a matter of making a second row now for our little gnome beard. So I kind of figured out what size I needed and just kind of cut them in bulk to make this a little bit faster. And then just starting on the side of his nose, we're just going to start gluing these on here until we get over to this side. this little beach gnome was so easy to put together. And I was really kind of wondering, what to use for a body. And then I kind of thought about this sign and realized, it doesn't really need a body because you're really not going to be able to see it in the final project. But I love these little metal signs from the Dollar Tree. I'm always trying to find ways to craft with them. So just like before, the best way to make this look fluffy is to unwind it. So I just went all the way across and unwound all of the macrame cord, leaving a big, fluffy little gnome beard. So that's what it looks like at this point. I do need to trim it up, kind of like we did before. Trying to shape it into a cute little beard by trimming it. So cute already, and it's not even put together yet. So his little hat's gonna go on like that. It is the perfect size for this side. It slides right over, and it doesn't fall over anymore since we put the cardboard from the pizza box inside. So I'm just gonna flip it over and add some hot glue and glue the back of the little mermaid tail pencil case to the back of the sign. And it's gonna be kind of a flat gnome, but it's still super cute. And then I'm gonna put hot glue underneath the sequins and kind of pull it down a little bit where its eyes would be. Kind of like that. I like the little fin at the end of the tail because it kind of like goes over to the side, which makes it look really cute when you display it. Now I wanted to decorate the hat a little bit more, and I love this mesh white ribbon from the Dollar Tree. Actually, is this the white one? Yeah, this is the white one. But it's a little too thick for this, so I'm just going to cut mine in half to make a thinner ribbon. I think it looks a little bit like fishnet, and I like to use it for fishnet a lot. So I thought we would just wrap fishnet all around the mermaid tail, and we could do a little bit of coastal decor there. At first, I was going to put one of those little mermaid chipboard pieces on there, but I ended up deciding to decorate the fishnet with shells instead. So we're just going to secure that to the back. I just thought shells would make it look really super beachy and fun. And so using some of the little tiny shells from the Dollar Tree, these are the ones that come in the little glass bottles. I'm just going to decorate the fishnet ribbon with a couple different kinds of shells. I think that the starfish is from Amazon. I buy those little tiny starfish on there. Those are available in my Amazon shop below. And then I think that little like snail shell is like just from my personal stash, but all the other ones there are from the Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to do 2 on top, 2 on bottom. I just kind of wanted them to all be a little bit unique and make some fun decor. And just hot glue those to the sequins on the hat. Then to finish it off, I have 2 of these little coral pieces from the fairy garden section at Dollar Tree. And I'm going to glue 1 little piece of coral to each side just to decorate the base. That will be kind of in front of our gnome, and the beard will kind of hang down and fill up all of the space there where the gnome would be. And I think it looks really cute. That's kind of how it looks like with all of the macrame cord just untangled. I thought maybe we could make it look even a little bit fluffier if we were to comb it. Before I tried to comb it, and I couldn't really comb it to unwind it like I wanted to. But at this point, I can get a comb through it. So that's what I decided to do, is just comb it out, make it nice and fluffy. That also helps you to see if you have any like loose fibers or if anything then needs to be trimmed up a little bit. And so we're going to give him a final trim. And I think he looks pretty good. What do you guys think about this little beach gnome? I think he turned out so precious.
Now, I have seen people that have made gnomes that even have like little clay feet. I think you can buy them. Little feet to stick out the bottom. That would be really cute on this DIY as well. Instead of the coral down there, you could have little gnome feet sticking out from underneath the beard. But keep your eye out for this pencil case. This was definitely a fun find. And when I saw it, I knew I had to craft something coastal with it. And I always love a good gnome project. They always make me smile, very whimsical and fun.
I wanted to take one of these little window signs from the Dollar Tree and kind of combine that with one of those shore living canvases. So we can have a room with a view, right? Who doesn't want a view that looks like that? Now, this does have this little live, love, laugh. I'm just going to pop that off with some heat. Unfortunately, it does kind of leave a lot of cardboard behind on the sign. They have this wood sign at my Dollar Tree, like in white or in like wood grain. Either one would be really pretty with this. But I thought we could combine that and make it look like, you know, that you have the ocean outside your window. It's kind of a smaller project, but it'd be really cute to kind of put anywhere. This would be really cute if you to have at work and you can look at it and be like, oh yeah, I'm at the ocean, right? I always save the hangers off of those canvases because they're great. I just draw the size of the window directly onto my canvas with an ink pen. And then I'm just using a razor blade and just cutting off the front of the canvas. I have excess, so I'm going to have to be too careful with that. And then I'm going to use my scissors and cut right inside the line. The line was the outside of the window, so I have a little bit of room, wiggle room to work with there. And then I can attach it to the back of my window like that. Now I'm trying to avoid the little holes where the hanger was because I do want to make this a hanging sign. And then I'm just going to hot glue all around the edges of the window and attach the canvas right there, lining it up right underneath the hangers. Now, I went back and forth whether I wanted this sign to be like a hanging sign or if I wanted to do like a little window box in front of it. I might go back and do the window box one too, because I think that would be really cute. You could fill it with like some greenery that reminds you of the beach, add some shells, starfish, that kind of thing in there. But in the end, I decided just to make mine a sign. So I'm just going to take some twine. We're going to make a new hanger for this. I always like to tie these in the front, just some Dollar Tree twine. Easy to feed through there and just knot and cut. So now I need to kind of disguise this part. I tried to remove like the cardboard here at the bottom with just some heat and like a little spatula there. It was kind of like really on there though. So I'm just kind of like chipping away at it, trying to get some of it off so it doesn't interfere with what I do down here. I even tried sanding it. It still looks a little rough. So we're going to cover it up with some burlap. This is just rolled burlap from the Dollar Tree. You can use whatever you've got. They also have like the burlap ribbon and the burlap rolls now. But I'm just cutting it down the side. I'm going to leave like the finished edge on the top just to make sure it doesn't fray up there. But I just cut it down so it's like the perfect size to cover all of that nonsense down there. And then I just Mod Podge that on because I don't really want like hot glue to like be visible through that. So I also Mod Podge on top to keep that down. Now I thought it needed some decoration. So we're going to use some more shore living decor, a little dolphin, a shell, and a sea turtle. Those little packages of wood ornaments from the Dollar Tree. They're so cute. And I'm just using a makeup sponge and some turquoise acrylic paint to make them look fun and blue. And I thought that would be cute. You could also do seashells on here. That would be really cute and easy as well. But I haven't used these little ocean creatures much this year for my DIY, so I thought I'd give it a go. 3 of them fit on there just perfectly, so I'm just going to kind of space them out, hot gluing those to the little burlap there. And it's looking cute. I did think that the turquoise needed broke up a little bit though. So I just go in with a chunky brush and some ivory and we're going to give the lightest little coastal farmhouse distress to these. Just to give them a little character. And wiping off any excess with a baby wipe. And I would love to have that view. What about you guys? I need a house like directly on the beach.
Now, Dollar Tree does have different varieties of the windows. They have them in plastic, they have them in wood. I think this would work for any of them. Just be looking for those canvases like that from the Dollar Tree, because you can find beach scenes like this and you can do a really fun little beach view back there. Very pretty. I love how this one turned out. Now for the next DIY, I want to do a wood round. One that you could use for a wall sign or like even an entryway. And I'm using the Dollar Tree wood rounds. The thing is that they're really thin and I don't want it to be thin and bowed. So I'm going to use 2 of them to make mine thicker. And the first step is I want to make this look like a whale. And I want to try it with sublimation. I haven't used sublimation in a long time on my channel. And because I know not a lot of you aren't set up with sublimation printers, but let me show you how I did it. And I'm going to share the printable with you in case you want to do sublimation, but you could also do it with Mod Podge. If you had like a large enough printer for one of these 12-inch wood rounds, I'm going to sublimate on acrylic. I've never done that before, but I've heard that you can do it. So I'm just using Cloudless by Apple Barrel and just doing a thin coat of acrylic all over the wood round. I still want that wood to show through because I think it's kind of pretty, but I want to sublimate my whale image right on top of that. Now, if you are interested in sublimation, basically you have to kind of research your printers. I got an Epson printer that is an extra large. It can print really large sizes because I wanted to be able to do large projects like this. And the trick is never to put ink in it. Put sublimation ink in it. So you buy empty cartridges and put sublimation ink in it, and then it's just a sublimation printer. And this is what I printed out. Now, since I haven't used mine in a while, it had banding on it with the blue, but I think with sublimating on wood, I don't think you're going to be able to tell. The size on this one is like A3. And so I printed my image out to 12.5 by 12.5 inches. Now you could do this with Mod Podge if you could print it that large, but otherwise you would need to do it on a little bit smaller wood round than this one. I'm going to use my automatic heat press. I got this for Christmas. I love it. By HTV Runt. And I just put down some wax paper, put down my wood round, cover it with some more wax paper. That's going to protect my easy press and it's going to protect my mat under there. And I'm going to sublimate it at 400 degrees for 1 minute. Wasn't sure if that was going to be long enough on the wood with the acrylic paint, but it actually turned out really well. So I love this heat press. It's nice and big. It's a lot bigger than my Cricut press, and so I could do it all in one go with no seams or anything like that, and it looks like it may have worked. So let's check out the damage here. I just attached it with some heat safe tape, and I printed my image. I flipped it so that it's kind of like an iron-on, and there is my whale. I think it turned out pretty cool. You can still kind of see the wood through it. The light blue, I'm glad I did that instead of the white background because it really goes with the ocean feel. But I think the image looks really cool. It's a nice matte finish. It looks really coastal, so I'm super happy with it. And I just need to kind of put it back to back with another wood round to make it nice and sturdy. These were kind of bowed, so I was trying to figure out a good way to do it, but I think I can make it work. And I just put hot glue on my backside, and then the trick is to line up your holes for your hanger so that you can still use those to hang your sign. So just pressing those together, trying to get them as close together. And it gives you a nice chunky wood round, something that is way better than the thin $1.25 ones. Now to frame it out, I'm just using some Dollar Tree white nautical rope. This is like the thicker piece, and I actually had like a scrap piece that I think is going to work well for this. So actually, I'm going to start and stop the rope frame at the top because I plan on doing a bow up here, and that can be something that I can mask. So I just start by attaching the hot glue to the edge of my 2 signs together and gluing this on, trying to get it as tight as possible. I don't want any gaps, so I'm going to have to make sure that every side of the wood round is glued tightly to the rope. so it kind of serves as a proper frame. So again, I know a lot of you aren't set up for sublimation. Some of you probably are, but if you wanted to recreate this and you don't have a printer this large, I'm sure you could probably always print your image out at like Staples or something like that. This is a watercolor image of a whale that I designed, and I will share the free printable with you down in the description below this video. And if you are going to do it, you don't really have to mirror it if you're going to do it with sublimation, but if you want it going this direction, then you would need to do that. So just finishing up the rope frame. And I always like to be able to kind of hide the seam when I'm working with rope if I can. And so I thought it would look really cute with like a little nautical bow here at the top. So I thought that would be a good place to have the seam come together so I can kind of hide it. Not only is it a big chunky wood round sign, that made it even, it feels wider even with that wide white rope around the sides of it, and just makes it more substantial. I think that image is really cool of like the sun coming through the top of the ocean and revealing a giant whale down there. Now, since I used the white rope, I'm going to use some of the macrame cord instead of the twine for my hanger, just because it's going to kind of match. But it is a little bit thicker and I have to feed it through both sides. So I put a little hot glue on the end to give me like a little tip that I can use to feed through there. And just kind of twisting it, trying to pull it through. Sometimes it can get a little bit difficult. I just use some pliers to pull it through. Knotted it in the front, and we're going to do the same thing here on the other side. And I thought that would just kind of match better with that white rope a little bit more than the twine that I usually use for my hangers. Now, the last step on this great little whale sign is to do a bow. I'm going to use some burlap from the Dollar Tree, some of these cute little whale clothespins, and my favorite like mesh ribbon. I love this stuff because I think it looks a little bit like fishing net. So that's going to be my first set. I cut 2 pieces the same size, and we're just going to do a simple X bow for the top of this using like the netting in the back. And then the next row we can use burlap. The Dollar Tree burlap is pretty wide, and so what I'm going to do is kind of just cut the edges off to give that like exposed burlap look, and then I'm just going to cut the piece like actually in half to make thinner burlap ribbon. Like that, and we're going to add that to our expo, just adding another X going the same direction. And I do have some of the Shore Living ribbon left over from last year. I haven't seen this year. Have you guys seen this? I know some of my stores did not sell out of it, but I think they skipped it this year, and I really liked it. But this is like a blue pinstriped like nautical ribbon that I thought would look nice with the blue colors in the whale. So we're going to add an X of that as well. And then to tie it all together, I'm just going to go ahead and use that macrame cord again. And I just tie a knot around that. I'm trying to gather that together, cinch it up, make it look like a cute little X bow. And I bring my macrame cord around the front, flip it over, and then tie it off on the back. So it has like a little bit of a middle section there of macrame cord. I am going to cover that up with one of those cute little Shore Living whale clothespins though. But that gathers the whole thing together. You could also use like a zip tie for the middle. It would do the same thing, just kind of cinching everything together. And then I decided I kind of wanted to dovetail this cute ribbon here on the front. And so I'm going to do that and just trying to even it out. Make sure that like the ends of my ribbon on my expo are all about the same length, so it looks symmetrical. And I want to add it right here to the top where it's going to cover where that rope comes together. So the first step is I'm just going to hot glue this down, and then I'll add something in the middle to kind of mask it, which is going to be one of these little clothespins. Now, sometimes these can be really hard to take apart and sometimes they're easy. So I always go for the easy approach first with a pair of pliers and just pull the clothespin off. And luckily this one was easy. It's just a little wood whale, which is going to go with our whale sign, I think. So I just hot glue that to the expo right there to cover the center. And then hot glue the expo in place. And it's definitely a unique piece. I really love that whale printable design that I designed for y'all. And it was really fun actually doing sublimation on a piece. I haven't done that in a while. And I definitely need to do it more because my sublimation printer likes to get clogged up if I don't use it enough. But this is how it turned out. I always like to experiment with it because sometimes you can use it on items like this wood that you wouldn't expect it to work on. I know a lot of people use it to make shirts and stuff like that. And I do like that, but the only problem is it usually has to be polyester, and I don't always want a polyester shirt, if you know what I mean. So this is how it turned out, my little whale sign Dollar Tree DIY. So fun. I really hope that you enjoyed today's beach crafting video. Let me know which craft was your favorite down in the comments below, or just come say hello. This is my QR code that you can scan with your phone if you would like to buy me a coffee. I really appreciate it, and enjoy the final reveal.
For better days to come and carry us like wind in our sails. Hold on tight, I can smell the shore, it's right in front of us if we just hold on tight. This vision that I saw is getting closer every dawn. We are dreamers of the shore. 7 years now on this boat, and we all know where we belong. Just wait. For our home to show on the horizon, soon we'll be there. Hold on tight, I can smell the shore, it's right in front of us if we just hold on tight. This vision that I saw is getting closer every dawn. We are dreamers of the shore when we can't read the sky. We just sail with the wind that we've got. And when we're drowning in doubt, just keep on believing. We are dreamers of the shore. Are too big. Can I get some comfort, please? I guess I should have been honest. It breaks in my heart. It's weighing me down, baby. I'm like a river that's overflowed. The sooner you know it, the less do we hurt. Let me speak the truth. I know you don't wanna face it. You think it's too late, but I can see past the rain. Won't you lay it on me? Turn the page and burn it. Let's make up a big bonfire. get over this. I see the smoke in the mirrors. I'm holding the key, one step away from salvation. You're like the ocean, setting me free. Out in the open, I'm picking up speed. No bad thoughts penetrate. Hold me like this is the first time. Our destiny calls, not leaving this incomplete. Won't you lay it on me? Turn the page and burn it. Let's make up a big bonfire on the beach with the stars as our lighters, and throw our problems in the flame. Throw our problems in the flame. And throw our problems in the flames. Ooh, throw our problems in the flame. I get a little bit breathless. My thoughts are too big. Can I get some comfort, please?
Thank you for watching all the way to the end of my video. That helps so much. I also want to give a huge thank you to my YouTube members for supporting my channel. In the order as long as they've been members, thank you so much to Jamie Job, Janae Farrington, Pamelia Wren, Donna Schreiner, Maren Christensen, Adrian Brolt, Debbie Middleton, Red Mama, Pal Puppy Life, Renee Albanese, Jenny, Debbie Austin, Lizette Thomas, and Amy Branham. Thank you guys so much. If you would like to join the membership, it is easy to join. You're free to cancel at any time. You're going to get early ad-free access to my content here on YouTube. Now, would you like more beach crafting DIYs? I will link a couple of videos right here, and you can get some more crafting inspiration for that coastal decor. Isn't that so fun? I love my little sea turtle swimming.